houses that are not too far from there. They haven't been contacted yet, so they know something is in the area because they're seeing it on news reports, but they haven't been contacted yet, some of the ones that aren't too far from there. To me, that's a
good morning. Breaking news, guys.
That, maybe this is
ICE facility shot at.
Area. Of course, we're still
sniper fire, I guess,
from police. We were told that three shooting victims at this time. Transported to the hospital, unclear which hospital, but I was checking to see if like UT Southwestern or Parkland or any of those. So sometimes when there is, when patients are brought to the hospital and there's still an active shooter scene, they will kind of lock that hospital down just to make sure that those patients, those shooting victims can get in and that, everyone's safe. That we're not seeing that happening at the hospitals that are nearby. So, that's another, I think, positive sign in this very sad situation that has happened. So we're kind of hoping to get an update from police, but we know 3 people have been shot. We were told critical by one of our sources.
Yes. So rushed to the hospital and just as far away. And so we're looking south to southwest, correct, Chip?
Yes,
looking
that is
south.
correct.
So to the left of the screen, which is east, in the same distance that you have those hospitals, Parkland, you've got UT Southwestern, you've got Children's Medical Center, and roughly the same distance, you also have Love Field. So seemingly you've got a lot of backup around all of the streets that feed into or would go to traditionally Love Field. So you've got a lot of, you got to have to wonder if there are going to be delays there, or even people just getting to the airport there. But then on the other side, toward the right of the screen, you've got 183, and you were saying earlier that doesn't seem to be impacted all that much.
That is definitely not impacted much at all. I'm going to bring up an arrow here. If you can look just close enough there, you can see a white vehicle go through there. That's off in the distance 183.
Yeah.
And so that area there is completely unaffected by this activity because it's about a mile or so as far as the distance is concerned there.
Point to the immigration building.
So the immigration building is right in this general location.
Okay.
And the apartment area is just a little bit south of there.
So we had heard that maybe it was the apartment building or maybe it was another building.
Right, so it could have been that, or it could have been on top of this building, and that's the fluid situation that we're really hoping to get answers from.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Welcome. If you guys could help me out, hit like on the stream, share it out. I have no notifications this morning, I don't believe, so if you could help me out. Let me give you a little bit of the details, preliminary information that was put out here. Just give me 1 second here. The ICE facility that was being shot at Dallas, Texas. Give me 1 second here. So they were saying assist federal agents reported shots fired at ICE facility. Possible suspect on the roof. Federal agent taking cover in parking lot. Dispatch advising responding officers there are possibly 4 or 5 people shot. Suspect is on top of a building in the rear. Police advising at least 3 critical, requesting EMS to respond. So, and right here they put the location of the shooter, I believe. I guess this was the location of the shooter. Possibly from this area and going across. Give me 1 second here. Let me just post this. Trying to get all the notifications out since I'm out of notifications on the other platforms. And then they said, let me get to the next thing. One suspect located nearby a rooftop appears to be self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, 1 rifle recovered. So the suspect might be deceased already. I guess that was according to radio scanner. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. What I notice about these people that do these kind of acts is they already don't want to live. They want to be dead. And I guess they figured they'd take people out with them. And there's been a lot of tension with these facilities. There's been a lot of videos coming out of just people at the ICE facilities, protesting, blocking the entrance, some people getting shoved and knocked down. And this is pretty brazen. I don't know. I wonder if this is encouraged by, the Charlie Kirk assassin, like this person, people seeing, oh, you try to take sniper shots. Now's the time to target certain figures or certain facilities.
Law enforcement.
Thank you, Jen
When
DeLeon.
you hear what we've now confirmed, that 3 were shot, and those 3 that were shot were in ICE custody, and that this was, it sounds like a lone
Happy
gunman
morning,
with a rifle shooting from a
IckedMel.
rooftop.
Heart exclamation emoji.
The
Heart
whole
exclamation
rooftop thing,
emoji.
it just, I don't know. You hear rooftop again, and I feel like we're seeing case after case after case where this seems to be where the suspects are going to get, you know, a good vantage point, sadly.
Well, yes, Lauren, and good morning. Yes, for any sniper or anybody who wants to hurt someone from afar, that would be the vantage point, the high point. And so that makes sense. That is logical.
So we hear all the noise with you. Sorry, Gil. Are you headed somewhere? Are you headed to the scene? Are you? I'm just trying to figure out what kind of situation you're in right now.
No, I am. Yes, I am on the road, but I'm headed to another situation, not this one.
Not related to this one.
Not related to this one. Okay.
Goodness. When we see all the officers, it's not just one department. This happened in Dallas. It's not just one police department that goes to this. It doesn't just go to Dallas Police, and I'm assuming because an ICE facility is involved in this as well, an immigration facility. How many different law enforcement groups do you think are involved in this right now?
Well, I think in this kind of case, everybody that is available offers to help. Since 9/11, a lot of efforts have been made by the FBI and all the other federal agencies to work very cohesively with all the local and state law enforcement agencies. So this is not new. They do work hand in hand on these kind of situations.
All right, Gil Torres, we appreciate your time this morning, former FBI agent. Some good insight there on the scene. Chip, I want to go back to you. And clearly we could see the main lanes of I-35E slowly moving along, but boy, the traffic troubles or backups, at least that this has caused this morning, have been colossal.
Yes, very significant. You know, I'll go ahead and just for a moment pull up the shot of I-35E. This is at Regal Row, which is about a half mile or so north of Empire Central, and it's about here where everything really comes to an abrupt halt. And I'll just go ahead and take this out and just briefly kind of show you a lay of the land. There's another pocket of heavy traffic that actually extends now all the way back to the Loop 12 Walton Walker interchange. And at this point, I would say steering clear of this roadway completely would be advisable. But the alternatives through this area would be to go to a roadway like Harry Hines and use it. But then you'll be going down through the medical district, and that could be kind of difficult. So be aware that no matter where you go, even if you were to go south on I-35E and take the Loop 12 Walton Walker split over into Irving, you're still going to run into heavy traffic because a lot of other folks are using 183 as an alternative as well. So just, again, continue to keep that in mind. And as we've been mentioning before and will continue to mention throughout the morning, because of this kind of a situation, you can expect that closure to stay in play for several hours.
All right, I believe we're trying to get Sean Rabb on the phone. Is he on? We got him on the phone. Okay, so Sean Rabb is going to join us here to talk a little bit about. Are you on scene, Sean?
At first, we just heard, we got confirmation the gunman is dead.
Right, as we mentioned earlier,
dead,
he has taken his own life, is what we're being told.
Self-inflicted gunshot wound and is dead.
And Sean, you're there on scene, is that right? Sean, are you with us? Okay, we have lost Sean Rabb. Okay, so clearly we can see that law enforcement is still on scene there on the sort of the access road right by Empire Central. The shooter is dead, self-inflicted gunshot wound. There are 3 other victims that were shot, taken to the hospital in critical condition. And we know that the shooter was on the rooftop, which explains the heavy police presence there. And we're going to try and connect back with Sean Rabb.
Somebody
Sean?
said, so why is this still news?
Hello.
Because it's a big fucking deal. What
Are
the
you
hell?
on scene there?
No, I am.
This is live right now happening.
Not on scene. I am in a vehicle at the moment, and I've been talking to people.
This is 2 minutes old. Why are we talking about this?
What can you tell us so far?
It's a bad incident this morning in Dallas.
Yeah, we are hearing that the 3 that were shot were in ICE custody at this ICE Immigration Services building. Tell us what you know about that. Like, were they bringing them in to this building? Let us know what you're hearing.
My guy is not able to answer that question.
Okay.
Whether they were coming in or taken out, but I understand that to be so, that they were in federal custody. That's what he tells me. And,
Federal custody.
I don't know, again, coming in or going out.
We were talking with Gil Torres earlier. He was talking about kind of the standard procedure now as if the shooter's dead, the 3 victims have been taken to the hospital. Or is there anything that you could tell us from your sources about how now they are expanding this investigation there at the scene, or at least around there?
So first, who is he? Does he have identification on him? If he does have identification on him, that's being, that was already ran by now. They know who he is, where he's from. If he's anywhere local, okay, they're going to send folks, even now, they're going to get a search warrant to go to that address, wherever that is, if he's local. If he's not local, that same thing is going to happen, and they'll either send folks from here, or they will have officers, agents in this case, in wherever city he may be from, if he's not local, to go to that address as soon as they can get a warrant approved. If they know who he is, if he has a driver license on him, they're going to do a search. Is there a vehicle? How did he get downtown? Where is he from? So they're going to look for a vehicle. Maybe he does have a driver's license on him, and they can connect that to a vehicle. All those kind of things are happening. If they find a vehicle, then exigent what has just happened, they're going to execute a search on that vehicle as soon as they can. Because now you want to know who this person is, what their motivation is, how they laid this out, if there's going to be any evidence trail, be that in social media, be that in electronic devices, be that on a Big Chief notepad this guy might have in his home. You got to figure that part out. I think beyond that, this underscores again the inability to think about every possible scenario that might could happen when someone makes up their mind.
Yeah, man, it's crazy what's happening now.
Yeah.
That's clear to me that we cannot think about every possible scenario and play it out on a tabletop exercise for every building where a person may or may not be brought. Why would you think someone would allegedly climb atop a building to shoot at people who are snipers?
Yeah.
So
I was thinking about that, Sean, because you've been in this market for so long. You've been in Dallas. You've covered, a gazillion shootings in the area. I just think about when we get the call and we hear there's a shooting in Dallas. The word shooting, and then the word this morning that we heard that there's a sniper shooting in Dallas. It was that word sniper that I think.
Sniper,
I don't know about you, but for me, really set off alarm bells.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and for a number of reasons, based on what has happened very recently across our country. Sniper, right? We've had several events, including one very major event just 10 days ago or so, 2 weeks ago, correct? So we understand that takes our anxiety to a different level. It also takes a response to a different level. And I think in light of what has happened in our country, the response today that you saw is the kind of response that happens now when there is that call for a beyond active shooter, sniper, right? Active shooter is one type of scenario above murder, above shooting, but sniper takes on a different meaning. Why? Because that suggests you have a person with a rifle, either a semi-automatic or bolt-action rifle, who's in what's called a perch. So it's like a bird's nest. They have the advantage. They're up high, and they can see people moving down below, and they can see people even coming towards them, which puts
responding law enforcement, federal agents, local law enforcement at a greater disadvantage and higher risk of danger if they try to approach someone who's in a quote-unquote sniper's purchase. So sniper is a word that causes our hearts to race, because if it's true and correct and if people are down at the hand of the sniper, it's a very, very dangerous situation.
Yeah, and I know you've covered so many of these in the past as well. And you know, when we hear the information that the sniper, the shooter, died or is dead or is neutralized, and the people that are injured are taken to the hospital, we tend to think, okay, we can relax now. But law enforcement doesn't get that luxury. They don't relax because, to your point, now they have to figure out, are there any other shooters? Was this guy working in concert with someone else? Or is there another location? And what can they glean from, like you were saying, what did he write anything down? Did he have anything on his person? So
right. This takes me back, okay, so just like on 7/7 when Dallas officers were downtown, I had officers on the street right there texting me. Same kind of thing this morning, federal agents letting me know what was happening, my federal sources. And for them, it's not over until, again, as I mentioned, all of those roads have been traveled down. They've traced down who he is. They've traced down where he's from. They've traced down, talked to family and friends, all of those kinds of things to try to figure out who and why. And so it's not over for them. There is also another question. This guy by himself, did he act alone? Right. At the moment, I don't have an answer to that, but I think they might have thought that perhaps he's by himself. Right. If there's not been another shooting incident in that area since this has taken place.
Right, right. We are waiting for a news conference. The Dallas Police Department just posting that they're asking media to gather in one certain location. So we're hoping to hear from police shortly.
Sean, we appreciate your time. We do. Thanks for the insight.
Crazy.
Oh, no, it's our city, of course and we all, you know, it's our city, and we all care about what's happening here. And these kinds of moments, as much as we hate them, do take place, so we have to report on it.
Well, we've been mentioning how close in proximity this is to UT Southwestern, Parkland Children's Medical Center. Steve Noviello is over at Parkland Hospital. Steve, what can you tell us from there?
Good morning. There was a massive police presence out here. In fact, we were trying to get over to the scene, but we had to bail off of I-35 just because it was an absolute parking lot. I'm sure Chip's been reporting, and your vantage point may even be better than ours at this point. Empire Central closed at the service road. Again, folks trying to get past this scene on 35. We bailed and came here to Parkland. It is the closest trauma center to this scene, and we can expect that this is where folks will be transported. You can hear probably the sirens behind me. Again, tons of police activity out here as folks race to the scene. As I'm sure Sean just reported, we're talking about 3 people shot who were in ICE custody. A male shooter on the rooftop shot himself when approached by law enforcement. As the rain continues to fall here, I can tell you that very much a fluid situation here, and very much expected that these folks would be brought here to Parkland. We can certainly keep you updated on their condition.
All right, Steve Noviello live there at Parkland. We appreciate that. We also want to check in with David Brown, former police chief in Dallas. He's on the line as well. Former Chief Brown, Sean Rabb mentioned this earlier. I don't know if when you hear this scene or if you've seen any of the coverage here, does this invoke thoughts in your mind of 7/7?
It really does. And thank you guys for having me on, making sure you can hear me okay.
Yes, we do.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it really does bring back those kinds of memories. But you know, you guys are hitting all the right points when you talk about it. It's just such a live situation right now. You really want to eliminate whether there's any other suspects that's part of this attack this morning on the ICE facility, harming 3 people. So that's one of the top priorities for law enforcement right now, to eliminate any possibility that there's others involved.
And I
feel like we would have heard if they thought there was a second one at this point. I mean, is it Dallas Police is now moving to say, hey, we're doing a media staging area. We're going to be giving a news conference in a little bit. I would think if this was still a possible active, you know, like maybe there was a second suspect, they wouldn't already be moving to try to get us in a spot. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but at the same time, this investigation is just starting. So there's a lot of work to do to figure out who this guy is, like you guys have been mentioning. Where's his vehicle? Today you got to look at people's social media once you identify who they are to see what kinds of things have they been posting to try to give you some clues about motive.
Are these some of the things that you can talk about or tell us that are happening behind the scenes that we don't see on screen without discussing tactics or anything? But what can you tell us about what's happening behind the scenes right now?
Well, behind the scenes, there's a lead agency. So because it's on a federal facility, will the feds take the lead? Will Dallas County take the lead? Or will the Dallas Police Department take the lead? So that's number one, identifying who's the lead. Or it could be a collaborative where they all kind of work together, multi-jurisdictional leads. But that's number one, because then that prompts certain types of things and resources available. Of course, at some point, they'll do a presser. They'll do a press conference or a press statement to make sure the public knows, like you mentioned, by now you would think downtown safe or the area is safe, but you do want a statement at least at this point. So that's likely being prepared and hopefully sent out soon so you guys can get a little bit more information. And finally, the investigation process itself. Even though the suspects apparently killed himself, you still have a full investigation to determine not just motive, but just what happened, why it happened, and what types of things this apparent suspect was planning to do. Was this targeted to these particular individuals that were harmed, or was this kind of a blanket attack? We just don't know a lot at this point, and it's just the beginning of the investigation.
I'm curious, what do you know about this immigration building? We were told the 3 that were shot were in ICE custody. Do they bring people in there that are in custody? Are they transporting there? Are they held there? Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but if people are being brought in, it's either a federal facility or a Dallas County facility that's a temporary holding for federal transport to a federal facility. So I just don't know the details, just waiting for the statement from police or law enforcement or federal law enforcement to determine all that information.
I also think it's important to point out, this is what you guys train for. This is exactly, and I think with every case we see nationwide, you guys tweak a little bit about your response or, now we're seeing a lot of these shooters on the roof. I'm assuming that that changes your training some.
It does. Unfortunately, this is our new normal. It's really a sad statement to make. This is the new normal for our country. And apparently, rooftop shooters are a thing. And Sean mentioned this as well. You just have to really prepare for these suspects taking the high ground, which puts everyone else at a more vulnerable position and makes what normally is ground level shooting much more complex and difficult to deal with from a law enforcement perspective.
Yeah, David, we want to kind of update people if they're just tuning in at the top of the hour here. So stay with us a second. We've got 3 people who were shot. Those people were in ICE custody. We've got a shooting detainee,
ICE custody,
or a person that was the shooter who is now dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This happened from a rooftop. This person was acting in the form of a sniper, shooting down at this ICE facility. David, I know that you were chief during some of these types of incidents. How do you, as chief, how do you address the community in this situation? People are afraid. They have a lot of questions. What do you say?
It's the worst call you get because that's your main concern. How do you relate to the public that you've restored order? One of the things that's our priority in government, but especially policing, is to protect people. And when you have these type of incidents, it just erodes people's perceptions or sense of safety. So you really have to work hard to communicate well to restore that sense that you got things under control, that the police are in charge, that you're safe to go to work and to take your kids to school. So it is one of the most difficult calls that you get, no matter what the time, early in the morning or late at night. It's a difficult call because that prompts you to launch yourself into being an over-communicator about safety and people's perceptions and being honest and factual about what you know and being honest about what you don't know yet, but you're doing an investigation.
Yeah. All right. Former Police Chief David Brown, we appreciate your time this morning and insight. We're going to check in with Chip again. Any change in any of this, Chip?
Could you repeat that, Brandon? I'm sorry, I was just getting more information right now.
We just wanted to check in with you on the traffic situation and whether or not any of that has improved or changed or gotten worse.
Yes, and so thank you for repeating that. I apologize. We are getting more information on this situation. And yes, there have been some changes. Notice there are not very many vehicles on southbound I-35E moving down past Regal Row. They've actually shut down the highway here at Regal Row. But here's the problem. There are not enough personnel at this point to keep folks from getting back on the highway instead of the service road in that area. And so that's why when you see the camera shot at Empire Central, occasionally you'll see 1 or 2 vehicles go through here. This is just an announcement for everybody. If for some reason you have to utilize I-35 this morning to come down from Farmers Branch, Carrollton, please continue on the detoured route that has been set up by TxDOT in this area that will ultimately get you over to 183 instead of doing what these folks are doing in this situation, because it's officially now become a crime scene investigation in this area. And not only that, on the northbound side of I-35E, they have decided to shut everything down. It was initially supposed to be at 183, but now they've actually closed it off back here at Inwood Road. And they've got a multi-mile backup all the way back through there, and you can see that the roadways are wet as well. This is more information that is coming out right now, more details that is official. The shooter's deceased, as we've already mentioned, but there are multiple injuries and fatalities than potentially the 3 that we were initially hearing. So I just wanted to add that piece of information, is that we continue to get more details that coming from Kristi Noem, and that is again the latest there on that situation. So we're going to see these closures, guys, for the rest of the morning, possibly more than likely into the afternoon. But again, just to reiterate, northbound I-35E now officially closed at the Inwood Road interchange. That's a slight change from what you might see on some of our posts if you're watching and you're using some of our social platforms to see things. And the southbound side is still closed here at Regal Row and will stay in play, obviously, as well.
Chip, I just want to confirm what you just said. You said we've been told that 3 shot, but now you're hearing that there are multiple fatalities?
Yes, that is the latest coming from Kristi Noem. And while we don't know the motive yet, this is a quote. This is a quote. Though we don't know the motive yet, we know that ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence, and that this kind of thing must stop, and that there are multiple victims. So it's more than just the 3, it sounds like, at this juncture. So we're still trying to gather more information. Very fluid at this juncture.
Okay. We will stay on top of that. Thank you so much, Chip. We'll check back up with you shortly. We're going to go now to Shannon Murray. Shannon, where are you at? I know you were responding to this scene. You were on a different one story. They pulled you as soon as we got word of this and pulled you out of the studio here and sent you that way. Tell us where you're at, what you're seeing.
Well, really, Lauren, we have been just trying to get anywhere close to this scene that we can. We are on a side street right now. Of course, we took 35. Traffic there was horrible. We're right now on Irving Boulevard, just trying to get around it to get over to the media staging area. But as you can imagine, as you just heard from Chip, traffic right now is horrible. It's pretty much at a standstill on 35 in that area of Empire Central and Regal Row, and then on the side streets as well, as most people are trying to get off of the highway and get around this. We've seen multiple ambulances, SWAT vehicles from the Dallas County Sheriff's Department. We've also seen multiple Dallas police vehicles going by us with lights and sirens, also trying to get through all of the traffic and going around vehicles as best they can. So we're hoping to get there and be able to give you guys a view on the ground of the scene right now. I know we've been reporting already. What we know right now confirmed is that 3 people were critically injured in this shooting near an immigration services building. You know, sources confirming to us that that this was a sniper on a roof. We don't know exactly which roof this person was on. And when agents were approaching him, he shot himself and died from that injury. So the threat appears to be over, but we are still working to confirm information. As Chip
had confirmed that 3 people were shot. Well, now we're hearing from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who just addressed it, and she is saying that there are multiple injuries and fatalities. So that's the first time we are hearing the word fatalities with this incident. I know Dallas police about everything that's going on at this time. Shannon, you mentioned that you couldn't even get to that area, like where this is happening. Is it they just basically just kind of direct you off, or what are people encountering when they get around here?
So there was no one directing us off of the highway, off of 35, but the general consensus, I think, from all drivers was, just everyone trying to get off of the highway because it's not moving. So many people just trying to find an alternative route, trying to get around this, taking the exit on the frontage road there, trying to get around near kind of Children's Medical Center in that area. So a lot of traffic there, people just trying to turn around and take different side streets. Right now, I'll tell you, we are on North Westmoreland Road, kind of approaching 35 again, trying to get back into that area again, to get to that media staging area where we've been told to go. And also just traffic is at a standstill here, not moving. So we are trying to, inch our way there and get there as soon as possible to get you guys some more information.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Stay with us as we continue to follow this coverage. Again, we first were being told that 3 people were shot, that these were detainees at this ICE immigration facility. We are now hearing from the federal government, from Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, that there are multiple injuries and fatalities. That has not been confirmed by yet our local law enforcement, but we are waiting for a news conference on that. The shooter, we are told, was shooting with a rifle from the top of a, this is the statement you see here from the U.S. Secretary Kristi Noem. But we are hearing that the shooter was deceased, as you can see right there, a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Apparently that happened as law enforcement was closing in on him.
Right, yeah. Kristi Noem's statement, there was a shooting this morning at the Dallas ICE field office. Details are still emerging, but we can confirm there were multiple injuries and fatalities. The shooter is deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. While we don't know the motive yet, we know that our ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence against them. It must stop. Please pray for their victims and their families. We want to get back to Chip, because you said something earlier that they had been diverting traffic off of 35E at Regal Road. Now, we're still seeing traffic pass by. Tell us about it.
So this is something that is...
Sorry, guys,
I want to be delicate in the way I explain this. There are some that feel like when there's a detour in play, that for whatever reason they're the exception to the rule. And so right now you can see how the highway is most certainly shut down on southbound I-35 at the Regal Row interchange. And
so did they say that the people that were shot were people in custody at ICE? Is that what it was? Let me read some of these articles.
Folks that are noticing that there's a workaround and there's just not enough personnel right now to block off the on-ramp.
According to police sources, the suspect was a sniper on a roof armed with a rifle. The shooter, who police identified as a white man, died from self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head as agents approached. What the... The three victims were detainees in ICE custody. Wow. Wow. What is the point of that?
from this point on up toward the Highway 183 split in this area here, where you can see the detour and the traffic flow moving just onto 183 specifically. So when you look at that split, the right fork would take you into that crime scene area, but obviously that's all closed off and everybody is doing what they're supposed to do here, at least at this juncture in that immediate area. So please, again, continue to avoid this area, and it's going to be a closure for several hours. Just a quick note on traffic as far as Denton County is concerned. Up in the Louisville Lake Bridge area, there's been a recent wreck southbound. Just wanted to kind of throw that out real quick. And obviously the roadways are slick. Be careful if you do have to get out.
And obviously, Chip, you mentioned the fact that the roads are wet. We had some showers that have popped out ahead of a main band of rain that's coming into the Metroplex. As you look right now in Dallas, you see these little yellow specks. There's nothing severe. There's a couple of rumbles of thunder, but there's definitely rain that is hampering all the travel around much of the Metroplex right now. Heavier rain is up towards Garland, but you can see the area that Chip has been looking at, which is right around here, and there's occasional rain. It's going to be on and off. It'll obviously slow things down. It would do a number on the commute anyway. I will point out, just to a lot of folks that are watching this morning wanting a little forecast, you've got about basically this area right here is around 2 hours worth of rain. So as it's begun around 8 o'clock, some areas 7 o'clock, you got at least another hour before this comes to an end. So this will be going on through at least about 11 o'clock this morning in the Metroplex. And the rain, while it's not heavy, especially down in our southern counties, it is producing some lightning and some heavier downpours as you approach Hillsborough and Lake Whitney. But again, as you get into Dallas, we have occasional showers, and then it is now raining in Fort Worth. Rain that you see in Fort Worth will be into Dallas as well. So this will be a steady light to moderate rain that takes over through about 11 o'clock this morning. Obviously, travel is going to be rough for the next hour or so because it is rush hour. Once it clears out, we should dry out for this afternoon. Back to you.
Again, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying that there have been multiple injuries and fatalities. Local law enforcement has not confirmed that yet, but we have had Steve Noviello standing by at Parkland Hospital this morning. Have you seen, what have you seen there, Steve?
Can you confirm?
Crazy.
Good morning. We can tell you that Parkland is the closest level 1 trauma
There are more
center
victims?
to the now crime scene that we've been talking about all morning. We're roughly a mile away. Our intention was, of course, to get as close to that scene as we could this morning. But as we've been reporting, traffic is just at a standstill. Roads now being closed. And we want to remind people, if you have to travel through that area at this point, your best bet is to turn around and find an alternate route, or just let your boss know you're not going to be at the office today. Again, this the closest level 1 trauma center to that scene. We're reporting 3 critically injured in that shooting. We can expect that this is where they will be brought. One of the things that we've been noticing today is really the massive police presence. It's very rare that we're not hearing sirens right now. We've been hearing them so consistently this morning as people just race to the scene to offer their help. We can update that information a little bit for you. The Dallas PD will be the lead agency on this case. We're being told now that Dallas FBI is en route. While neither agency is going to give us an update quite yet, they will have a news conference a little bit later on. Now, on the plus side, and I believe you mentioned this earlier, when we start to see that kind of reset of, whoa, it's super windy out here.
Sure.
When we start to see that kind of reset of a press conference, it means that the scene itself has really calmed down and that there is no current danger to folks that are out there, other than perhaps some high winds at this point. We're going to keep you updated as news happens right here. And of course, on Fox Local and Fox4News.com.
Why shoot?
Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate your reporting. I want to go to Chip again. Chip, you had that arrow out earlier, which I think was so helpful.
What the? What is going on, man? ICE detainee shot. Let me see what else they're saying online. Oh, damn, at least 3 dead, including suspect. That was earlier. The person who opened fire on ICE officials in Dallas, Texas today did so from the roof of a nearby immigration lawyer's office. The thing that strikes me as weird, though, I don't know, that they shot at detainees, though. Troopers, everyone will use the detained as cover. Oh, you think so? Maybe the detainees will use it as cover? Imagine. I don't know.
Look at this shot, and the folks in TechSide are kind of moving this camera so it could continue to move a little bit more. It does appear that they finally gotten someone to block off the on-ramp that was a hole, if you will, in these closures, and now nothing is getting through officially. So that is a positive thing as far as just clamping down on the scene area itself. At this point, you're talking about a backup on the southbound side that extends all the way back to Royal Lane. On the northbound side, I-35E is jammed up all the way to I-30. And that's going to stay the normal here for the rest of the morning. There's no doubt about that. So please continue to steer clear. I like what Steve said. If you need to go to work today, or you're supposed to go to work today, if there's any way you can commute from home, if you utilize I-35E, talk to your boss and make that happen, because this is not going to improve. All side streets are a mess through this area, and this situation is nowhere near, obviously, any kind of resolution.
Yeah, and sort of watching all this play out, you know, earlier we were talking to you, and this was a very fluid situation. Law enforcement just getting on scene. We were just getting confirmation.
What time was that? Was that like around 7?
It was around 7 or so.
To set the stage, just officially, because I was the one that was able to get all this information out there first, it was right around 6:56, 6:57 that this started to be called out. And then we were able to get it on the air about 7:03, 7:04. So that's at least the timeline I'm working with. There might be a little bit more finagling once we hear from a press conference about this, but we think that that's about the best situation as far as like timeline is concerned. That's somewhere in that 6:50, 6:55 range is when this incident started to come to light, and the presence of the emergency crews started to move towards this location. It was just a couple minutes later that everything started to get shut down.
Okay. All right, Chip, we appreciate it. We want to check back in with former Chief David Brown, former Dallas Police Chief. David, as the scene starts to develop here, I know Kristi Noem has made some statements that there were 3 fatalities in this. We haven't independently confirmed that because local law enforcement hasn't confirmed it yet. But I guess as this investigation starts to develop here, what more can you tell us about how this is going to play out?
Well, it sounds like the feds are going to take the lead, so we're waiting for some collaborative statement or press conference that might include, federal law enforcement along with local law enforcement. Apparently, Kristi Noem is confirming, although we don't have that from local, like you mentioned, that we have fatalities, which to me, kind of highlights the accuracy of this shooter. Likely a little planning took place. And we need to know more about, the weapon used, who these people were that were harmed.
Laura Loomer?
Is there some connection between what they were arrested for, or was it just immigration, or were there other types of charges? Was it targeted, is my point. And, kind of what is the investigation leading toward as far as motive?
Yeah, Noem's saying that there were multiple injuries and fatalities, not saying a number, just saying multiple injuries and fatalities. Earlier, we had heard 3 shot who were critical. So, yeah, we're still waiting to. She also mentioned that the details were still emerging, but that the agency was confirming that there were multiple injuries and fatalities. That was the first time we heard fatalities. She also mentioned, which I thought was interesting in this statement, that she wanted to point out that there has been an uptick of targeting of ICE agents. You're in law enforcement. You can speak on that as well.
Yes, this is such a politically charged issue, immigration, that you likely have agents who are just doing their job, being assaulted, being threatened, and these types of calls where you have bomb threats or whatever just, affects the psyche of law enforcement. And I know we haven't mentioned this, but we haven't ruled out that any of the people who are injured were law enforcement or civilian employees of law enforcement agencies. So my prayers go out to these victims and their families. The law enforcement community is a tight-knit group, and so this highlights it's really the concern, that really it's an ongoing concern of threats to law enforcement.
As we've been looking at this scene now, and we were talking earlier, this all kind of happened or began to develop around 7 o'clock or so. It wasn't until about maybe 20 minutes ago that they blocked off the main lanes to 35E there right at around Regal Row and Empire Central. And we can now see more vehicles now traveling on the main lanes. For a brief time, though, and it was much later after everything had kind of calmed down, they shut the highway down. What does that tell you in terms of what officers on the scene there are trying to accomplish?
That outer perimeter around where they find the shooter is important investigative territory, where you're looking for his car. You're looking for other evidence. Maybe he had a bag where he carried the gun in. So you really want to widen that perimeter, that investigative perimeter, until you can, find those types of pieces of evidence. The fact that they widen it is basic policing 101. So you really want to cast a wide net and then narrow it as you start eliminating pieces of evidence because you found them or you have some other reasons to know that it's not in a wider area, that it's really a smaller perimeter.
I have a question, and without getting into too much detail, I don't want to get too graphic. How do they decide when a gunman has a self-inflicted gunshot wound, whether they're going to transport him to the hospital or not?
This is also police protocol, kind of basic policing. You treat even the perpetrators as people you have to protect and get them to, any type of medical facility or get them treatment. You put a tourniquet on, even though they may have done such a heinous crime, you still are trying to preserve their life. It applies to all. So the fact that law enforcement didn't discharge their weapon, because I didn't hear reports of that, it kind of eliminates, any other person's doing it and that he self-inflicted, and you can kind of see the evidence of it. Although with a rifle, it's probably not likely. Likely with a handgun would be my suspicion. It's much more difficult, although not impossible, to self-inflict a gunshot wound to yourself with a rifle. But it's possible, likely a handgun.
And how difficult is it with these rifles to police them? I mean, with a handgun, for those of us that aren't as, expert knowledge, we don't have a lot of expert knowledge on guns. With a handgun, could I shoot someone from a roof from far up, or do I need a rifle?
A rifle is for longer distances. Handgun is for, shorter distances. It's much more difficult, I would say almost impossible, to fire from a rooftop at some distance with a handgun and hit what you're shooting at. Likely a rifle, some type of long gun was used. Not necessarily scoped, which is, you magnify the target. It could be just the sights on a rifle or those little notches on a rifle for laymen. But, likely a scope rifle would be my best guess now.
So that's why we're seeing rifles being used in these cases.
Right. It makes for, if people hunt, makes for even the, novice can be accurate with a scope rifle at a rooftop elevated position down to a target.
I know earlier you mentioned, or you talked about, the difficulty as a leader in law enforcement addressing the community after something like this. As we're looking at this scene, we see these officers all lined up on the access road as seemingly in the order at which they responded to this scene. For a law enforcement officer, when you hear reports of a sniper on a building and you're told, you're dispatched to go to the scene, that in and of itself, you guys deal with danger all the time, but that in and of itself has got to be, for an officer, a very frightening call to hear.
It really is, and it speaks to the courage and bravery and really the nobility of law enforcement, that they run toward bullets. They run toward danger, not because they don't have fear, is that they overcome their fear with courage and bravery. And so I just want to highlight that these officers are human. They have that fear, but they overcome it with their courage.
And is it just whatever officer gets on the scene first, or is there like a, hey, you're the guy that goes in first? Like I know in like some SWAT situations, they have like the guys that go in first. When there's a call out like this, is it just whoever's closest?
It's whoever's closest gets dispatched, but also SWAT is called as part of their response. Because of the rifle, some of the, the rooftop, the elevated positions. So SWAT has those similar weapons to try to really defeat that suspect's advantage. But the first responding officers are regular patrol officers, whoever is closest, and you try to get there and, render aid, make the scene safe as best as possible while SWAT is arriving.
All right,
yeah,
and we're taking a look.
Appreciate that information.
And we can see that there's, a lot of officers still there. At what point do they start releasing some of these officers?
Well, right now, the scene is being transitioned to a crime scene, and officers will have posts to protect the crime scene. So you'll still have some cars there and some officers there on into the morning, into the early afternoon. That will start to diminish over time, but it's still very early in this investigation. It's just a few hours in. There's a lot of real work to do, a lot of, evidence to collect, photographs, interviews with witnesses, and again, just trying to figure out what this motive was is really thing number one to do.
And I know we're going to move on here, but again, to me, this looks like it speaks to your point earlier when you talked about federal, state, and local officials all working together, because you know this area. You know exactly where this is. You've got, 3 main hospitals to the east. You've got an airport. You got Love Field to the east. So
that's right.
There's no way that the Dallas police is going to have the staff or the resources to go to each of these places, because I imagine somebody's going to have to go or be dispatched out to Parkland, to UT Southwestern, to Children's Medical, to Love Field.
That's right. That's right. You got to interview these witnesses. Each one of the witnesses, as soon as they're able, you want to try to get, from them firsthand what happened. What did you see? What kind of things were happening as it happens. That's the best evidence from eyewitnesses. And again, there's a team of investigators headed to this guy's house to try to figure out where does he live, who does he live with, interview all those folks, any connections, any friends. That cell phone is going to be valuable, rich information. Who was he talking to this morning? Who did he text this morning? What kind of social media post did he make? So this is the very beginning, and there's a lot of work to do and a lot of collaboration with various law enforcement agencies.
Yeah. All right, David Brown, we appreciate your insight. And seemingly you would think that there would be also some witnesses calling police that were driving by. This is a busy time of morning. So, to recap here, there has been a shooting. There have been 3 people who were shot, and apparently those 3 people were being detained. They're ICE detainees there at that ICE facility. The shooter or sniper was on the top of a roof of a nearby building.
We just got an update from police. They just posted that this call went out at 6:40 this morning. It was a preliminary investigation determined that a suspect opened fire in the government building from an adjacent building. 2 people transported to the hospital with gunshot wounds. 1 victim died at the scene. The suspect is deceased, and they'll be holding a media briefing later. But that was the official post from Dallas Police just now.
Shannon Murray was here in studio as this was developing. She has now gone out. She is near the scene. Shannon, what can you tell us from where you are?
Right, and Brandon and Lauren, the last time I talked to you, we were stuck in traffic on the phone just trying to get any information we could to you guys. We finally made it over here as close to the scene as we could get at this point. You see Dallas police vehicles here with lights on, blocking this area from any through traffic. They're in the distance. I'm going to have our photographer, David, zoom in so you can see a bit of the scene there. The Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Facility is on the left of those vehicles. We have seen multiple Dallas police SWAT vehicles from Dallas County Sheriffs and Richardson here on scene, some of them leaving, pulling away from the scene at this time. But we are on the other side of where 35 is. So further to the left, you would have the frontage road and 35, and then the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Facility is right there on the side. You just heard Lauren giving the update from Dallas Police that we are hearing there have been multiple people injured, at least 1 fatality. We are also told that as agents were approaching that sniper or that shooter, shooter who was on a roof somewhere. He shot himself in the head, and we are told that there is no longer a threat in this area, but you can still see a very heavy police presence, lots of lights, lots of vehicles here in this area. There are quite a few businesses around here, and we've seen people stepping out just kind of trying to get a look at what's going on. Most of these roads here are closed. Employees or people who are trying to get into this area are not able to access any of these side streets. We see a line of cars just on the other side of us of people trying to turn around and trying to get through. They're all being directed to leave this area and that they cannot drive through here. We see, a law firm here in this area along with several other businesses here. So we will see how long this plays out. We know, of course, that area of 35 is shut down. We actually exited off of 35 and we were in that area near Empire, and there was a heavy police presence there, and they told us we had to kind of go up and turn around. We couldn't pull over in that area either, and that is where we saw quite a few ambulances and first responders from multiple agencies here in this area working this scene right now. Back to you.
All right, Shannon, thanks. We are going to go to a phone interview right now with former FBI agent, who did you say the name was?
Kenneth Gray.
Kenneth Gray, thank you. All right, Kenneth, what can you tell us? You've been listening to this, I assume, all morning. What can you tell us, or what do you know so far?
First attack against an ICE facility. Back during the summertime, there was an attack on the Prairie Land detention facility in Alvarado, Texas. The person responsible for that, Benjamin Song, was arrested by the FBI, and he's allegedly a member of a Texas Antifa group. So I would not be surprised if this shooting, there was also Antifa connected.
Okay, as you've been watching this develop, what could maybe some insight you might be able to shed here on how this scene is constructed, how it's been played out this morning? You've still got officers on the access road. Traffic is now flowing on I-35E. Does that mean, or can we draw from that the threat level has been decreased?
Yes, absolutely. So the emergency is over. That is that the shooter is down, neutralized, committed suicide when officers approach. So the threat is greatly diminished. Now it transitions over to a crime scene. There'll be a collection of any type of rounds found in the area. There'll be a collection of the weapon. The shooter himself the body will be taken possession of by the coroner's office. All these things will be done as if it were any other shooting there and be investigated as a crime. But the emergency itself has been resolved.
Okay. Former FBI agent Kenneth Gray, appreciate your time this morning and insight. Thank you. We're going to check in with Chip now. Chip, so traffic is moving there on I-35E.
Right. So as you were talking to former Dallas Police Chief David Brown, you noticed that the number of vehicles moving through on the highway started to change from nothing to now something. So whatever stage they are in the investigation, they've been able to obviously make the determination that one can now utilize I-35E to move through this area. So here's what it looks like southbound from Regal Road. They've actually lifted that closure completely and are allowing all lanes to get through. Similar situation in the northbound direction of I-35 around 183. This will obviously help alleviate the overall drive in this area, which has been quite miserable with a multi-mile backup in that area. So this is what it would look like currently as you move through that location. Northbound traffic, you can see back to about Oaklawn Avenue there on the right side of your screen, excuse me. And the speeds there, if I were to plot that out, are only about 5 to 7 miles an hour. It'll obviously potentially improve through that area. Similar situation on the southbound side. So at least we've gotten to the point, Brandon and Lauren, that they feel like they're at least getting into that next phase of the investigation. Scene is obviously corralled, as you've been hearing from former Police Chief David Brown and some of the other folks we've been bringing in to talk with. But we still have a long way to go as far as getting the service road open in this area. It will be closed the rest of the day. We've gotten some information initially about the situation, obviously, that we've been divulging to you. At this point, I would plan on that southbound service road to stay closed at least past noon, 1, possibly 2 o'clock. But hopefully the main flow of traffic will start to improve now that they've reopened the highway.
All right. Thank you for the update, Chip. Let us know if you see anything, any changes there. Vice President J.D. Vance just addressing this crime, posting that the obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack and for their families. So the Vice President of the U.S., J.D. Vance, speaking out about this incident in Dallas as well.
We checked in earlier with Sean Rabb, who was giving us some updates on some of the police contacts that he has been talking with this morning. Sean, you join us again. What do you know? What can you tell us?
Well, I think we don't know this for certain yet, but I think that the injured, those people who have been shot, are, as our sources on the ground there have been saying, detainees and perhaps not the federal agents themselves, because I think what we would have heard from Kristi Noem or the acting ICE director in a tweet or anywhere else would have been much more intense than what we've heard now. Not to diminish what they are saying at all, but we don't at this moment believe any agents were shot, although that's how the call came out around 6:40 or 45. It was an officer assist call, and I'm being told by sources this was in what is be called the Sally Port area, or an area where people are brought in or out who are in detention. And so that's what I'm being told. This happened from shooting from one building rooftop to the next.
Right, and based on that information, Sean, it does seem to be a little different from some of the things that we've seen, especially in Alvarado, where you had agents who were targeted, federal agents who were the target of a shooting. In this case, it appears as though we've got detainees, ICE detainees, who were being taken into custody, who were shot. So it certainly changes the dynamic, at least.
That's what it appears at the moment, and hopefully we will learn more. Once we know who this person is, this man or woman, this person, the shooter is, once we know that, then that will lead us to another treasure trove of information that might end at a motive or reason behind this. We'll never hear it from this person's mouth because they're taking their own life. But yes, you're right, Brandon. The allegations in the federal information about what happened outside that facility in Alvarado is that people had body armor, they had multiple radios and cell phones, they had weapons, and that it was an ambush. This, in that regard, in that context, this is different. It is one person. Now, whether that person was shooting at the agents or at the people they were bringing in or taking out, we don't know. But in the climate now, this is why there has to be, you have to always think about all of these things, and it's impossible, it's literally impossible to think about every place something could happen, which shows, again, our just vulnerability in society.
Right.
So, let's see. All right, I'm just getting a text in. Someone is confirming to me, another source, no agents or officers were struck.
Okay.
No agents or officers. So that kind of goes against what, the vice president was saying, that he was saying it was an attack on law enforcement.
Well, Kristi Noem even suggested that.
And Kristi Noem suggesting it was an attack on law enforcement. It does appear, and what, Sean is reporting and getting confirmation on, was that these were ICE people. These were people that were detainees. They were people in ICE custody at the time.
We're getting a lot more information here.
Still a lot to sort out.
Yeah, lots to sort out, because if they were in ICE custody and ICE agents were standing around them or with them, then the attack is wholesale on all standing.
Right.
It's still on an ICE facility.
Right. Right. All right, Sean, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We've got Shannon Murray that who has been near the scene there, near the medical district, which is really not that far from this scene, right? Shannon, what are you seeing there?
Right. So if you look here behind us, you see a Dallas police vehicle with the lights on. And then in the distance, if you zoom in, I'll have my photographer push in a little bit. That right there is the main area where this scene is taking place right now, where you see a heavy law enforcement presence just to the left of where that first car is there with the flashing lights. That's going to be the ICE detainment facility there, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building right there to the left. And then on the other side of that would be the frontage road and I-35. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we are. Of course, all of these roads in this area are blocked off right now. There is a lot of traffic here as people are trying to get into this area here near the medical district, where there are a lot of offices and businesses, people just trying to pass through to get to where they need to go. Everyone, of course, being turned around at this point, not allowed into this area because they have it completely locked down. And the highway as well in this area is shut down. It is closed. We saw police there blocking those entrances and in the intersections there at Empire and 35, right off of Stemmons Freeway there, trying to keep anyone from going into this area. Of course, as you all have mentioned, Lauren and Brandon, the information right now, very fluid. I'm listening to Sean Rabb along with you guys, getting those updates from him as he is communicating with his sources who are here on the scene. So, you know, what we're knowing from Dallas police directly is that this happened around 6:40 this morning. There was an assist officer call here. This is the 8100 block of North Stemmons Freeway, again, right there by, you know, Regal Row and Empire, in between that area at the ICE facility here, right off the frontage road. You know, this investigation showing that there was a suspect and a shooter who opened fire on this government building here. They say that he was at an adjacent building, so it does not appear that he was on the roof of the ICE facility itself, which I know earlier we were kind of questioning. We just weren't sure where that sniper was, where the shooter was at that time. We now know he was on an adjacent rooftop at a different building when he started firing and shot 3 people, and then shot and killed himself as well when those agents were approaching. So again, we are still working to learn more. I know we have a crew over at Parkland Hospital where those victims were taken. We are working to learn more about the shooter and what we can find out about that person. And so Lauren and Brandon, of course, like I said, a fluid situation. We're trying to learn more. I know that police are expected to give an update at some point this morning, but we have not been given an exact time on when that will be happening.
All right, Shannon, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're going to check in with Chip again, and you've just been kind of monitoring this all morning in terms of the traffic impacts.
Most certainly,
here.
And just to reiterate, obviously we have restricted access still moving through the area where the incident took place, which is the huge exclamation point. But I did just want to give a quick lay of the land for everybody to be able to take a quick glance if you're needing to go ahead and move to your place of work. There has been an incident that's happened with a disabled vehicle in the backup of the issue on I-35E northbound, but that just blends in with the bumper-to-bumper traffic as one moves up towards the 183 split in that northbound direction. The detour and closure of the main lanes was in place for about 20-25 minutes or so, and then they were able to reopen the roadway about a half hour ago, a little bit more than that. You can see on the southbound side, as we bring the shot up at Empire Central again, that all lanes are now open as well. That too opened up at about that same time. So another thing to note in the last few minutes is how the number of emergency personnel along the southbound I-35E service road has dissipated significantly, which is a good leading indicator that we are well now into the second phase of this situation. You heard from former Dallas Police Chief David Brown about how there's going to be a complex investigation involved in this situation, and there are going to be several different layers that they'll have to go through in order to wrap up that investigation. So we expect that southbound service road to stay closed for an extended period of time. I was seeing some things that I wasn't able to vet, Lauren and Brandon, coming from Steve Noviello as far as conditions of some of those individuals that were taken to Parkland Hospital in this sniper situation, some of the victims, and it does sound like maybe that has changed unofficially, and that it's now potentially 2 dead in that situation and 1 in critical condition.
Right, yeah. Dallas police confirming 2 people taken to the hospital. They didn't say which hospital, but we assume it would be Parkland Hospital. That is our major level 1 trauma hospital. So yeah, 2 people taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. 1 victim died at the scene, according to Dallas police, and the suspect is deceased.
Well, we're now getting
official word from Dallas police.
Yeah, we're getting sources now from the FBI confirming to us that 2 have been killed. 2 people.
Well, that could be the
dead.
Suspect and the victim.
Source is FBI. So we've got 2 dead on arrival and 1 injured. Yeah, that's all coming from the FBI. Alex Del Carmen, we want to join up with him on the line again. You know, Alex, as you're watching this, you see the police presence there on the access road sort of dwindle, and we've got traffic now flowing on I-35E. Is this that second phase that Chip mentioned in this investigation, where you kind of move on, or investigators are now looking at who is this shooter and what can we learn?
That's exactly right. So what's happening right now is you've got the FBI now on the scene. They're gathering all the evidence, all the information, but it's pretty safe to say that the threat has been neutralized, and therefore there is no immediate threat to the area anymore. But at the same time, the investigation phase has kicked in, which means that at this point is when other folks are going to be very active, trying to serve search warrants, finding out who this person was, what kind of motive was behind this, what kind of ideology was being followed, and quite frankly, if there are any other actors that we should be concerned about.
So, and I know you can also kind of speak to the coordination that takes place here. You know, as we mentioned earlier, you've got state, you got local, and then you have obviously federal authorities all working together to try to figure this out.
That's right. So, you know, just imagine that this actually took place within the city limits of Dallas, right? So Dallas Police Department will be the primary unit to respond, but at the same time, it's actually taking place in a federal facility, which means that the FBI has immediate jurisdiction along with Homeland Security. So there is no question that the feds are very heavily involved. They're likely leading the investigation with the cooperation of the Dallas Police Department and the state as well. So this is going to be a multi-agency type of investigation, but look, the best of the best is at the scene, and I have no doubt that they're going to find out why and how this was done.
All right, Alex Del Carmen, we appreciate your time this morning. And now Dallas police did confirm that 2 people were transported to the hospital. Steve Noviello has been at Parkland this morning. In terms of what you're seeing there, what do you know so far?
Let me kind of talk to you about what we usually would see kind of in a more active situation here. Generally, at this point, we would see ambulances, sirens on, pulling in, unloading victims that needed critical care. We would see kind of some of that trauma setup happening here. We would also see police detectives here. I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's not really a big police presence here at all, which really tells us a couple of things that we suspected and can now confirm, that either these folks, unfortunately, did not survive the shooting, or they were perhaps brought somebody somewhere else. We can confirm for you now that 2 of those detainees who were shot have in fact died from their injuries. The third one we're still waiting on an update for. The folks here at Parkland unable to tell us if that person was actually even brought to this facility. Again, especially when you consider the massive police presence at the scene, we would expect to see at least a portion of that mirrored here at Parkland, just because simply it's so close to the scene. We're about a mile away. There are some other facilities in the area like UT Southwestern, which are also very well equipped to handle this kind of thing. But as suspected earlier, the lack of police presence and activity here, we thought meant that perhaps these folks had succumbed to their injuries. We can confirm for you now that 2 of them had. That information comes to us from one of our sources close to the FBI. A lot of folks asking us, when we look at numbers like that of victim fatalities, are they including the shooter, who we were able to confirm earlier today died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound as law enforcement approached him on that nearby rooftop? We are told that when they consider victim count, they do not include the person who did the shooting in those numbers.
Yes, Steve, now I wanted to ask you a question, but I also wanted to say quickly, Dallas police have posted on X that they will be addressing this in a news conference at 9 o'clock, so in about 8 minutes or so here, they're expected to address this situation. You know, I know that in these situations, situation, Steve, when you get on scene, there are a lot of people that are coming and going from a hospital. Have you been able to talk to anybody or gather maybe a mood from the employees or people coming in and out?
Well, I can tell you we spoke with the public information officer here at Parkland, and again, her availability to us, you know, it's very odd in a situation like this, if this were actually an active scene, that the public information officer would even have time in his or her schedule to come over, check in with us. What can I do for you? What can I get for you? Do you need any help and assistance? Which again tells us that this scene here is not as active as you might think it would be had those folks not died as a result of their injury. So the mood here is actually quite quiet, believe it or not. Had we not known about the breaking news that's happening just a mile from here, you would think it was just any other day.
Yeah, but we do know one should be in the hospital right now. Correct? That's what your
yes,
source
whether
is
or not
telling
that's this hospital, we can't confirm for you yet.
Okay. All right, let us know if you get an update. We appreciate it, Steve.
You bet.
All right, we turn back to Chip Wagner. Chip, you know, you were pointing out for a lot of people, we're switching things there.
I'm sorry.
You were pointing out the traffic is moving there. This has been, for those that don't know this area, I think this is good to point out. So the area where this building is kind of where we're seeing that clump of officers in the middle there?
Right in this area here, behind this taller building, would be the ICE area. And then the idea is, and unfortunately the 35E Empire Central icon there is what's blocking off where that apartment complex would be, and where we thought that potentially the situation started at around 6:40 this morning, shooting this way in that northbound direction. So that's kind of a look at the lay of the land through that area currently. They've obviously gotten this situation into a smaller, more compact area as far as the investigation is concerned. So now we'll just focus in that area that you're looking at currently. And at this point, while we wait for the Dallas Police to start the press conference here at the top of the hour, what we're looking at currently in this area is the fact that the service road is obviously closed, moving down past Regal Row and Empire Central, but the main lanes are now open. So that's allowed the traffic to improve somewhat in this area in the southbound direction coming down through the Northwest Highway interchange. Now, even with that noted, because of all the activity and everybody in this area presumably knowing about the activity, it causes folks to take a gander as they pass by. So the average speed isn't going to improve any. It's only going about 10 miles an hour in about a 5-mile stretch on that southbound side. And it's somewhat similar on the northbound side, just a touch faster coming up from the I-30 interchange. So at this point, with all the activity there, it's going to stay slow, obviously, with the wet roadways everywhere. We've had a number of incidents happen out and about on the highways. But right now, as far as the focal point is concerned of our biggest concerns here on I-35E, that service road will obviously stay closed until the investigation wraps up. And we, again, should have that press conference here in about 5 minutes.
All right, Chip, we appreciate it. I want to check in right now with Peyton May. She is on the phone. And what are you able to tell us, and where are you?
Yeah, Brandon, we actually just pulled in. We're awaiting the press conference that should be happening soon. Obviously, right now, there are a lot of unanswered questions that we're hoping to get answers from. But I'll tell you from what I see right now, I mean, there is a massive police presence. We're actually at a Burger King kind of parking lot off of I-35E, you know, just about a few blocks away from the scene. That's where police have media staging, so we're kind of out of the way. But I will say, I mean, there are tons of ATF officers, Dallas Police, of course, surrounding this area as well. I could count at least 20, maybe 30 law enforcement vehicles. There's dogs on the ground as well, ATF dogs that are kind of around this, patrolling this whole area. So again, just large police presence, understandably so, in such an active situation. We're awaiting everyone to kind of show up and congregate in one area so that we could get that update from police officers. But I want to say there's also businesses that are around this area. There's kind of some people standing outside businesses wondering what exactly is going on. So we're expecting that police will probably move people out of this area as more are congregating here to kind of set up as a staging area. But again, we are awaiting information. We have a lot of questions on kind of where the situation and investigation stands as of right now. So we will have updates on that to come.
Who are you expecting to address you? Is this Dallas police? Is this local?
You know, Lauren, that's a great question. There are law enforcement officials from a ton of different agencies, so I'm wondering if maybe each of them might have a different component to talk about. Obviously, Dallas police responding to that situation first, but there are ATF officers. We don't see as many law enforcement officers from maybe the ICE agency that was, you know, the location of where this all happened. So we're not sure who exactly will be leading the conversation, but there are so many different departments here. Again, dozens and dozens of law enforcement vehicles. So I'm sure that they will kind of have a comprehensive statement of all of them together and hopefully take questions from us.
Yeah, and Peyton, you mentioned that there were people standing outside, so it maybe answers my question that I was going to ask you. But, you know, as you pull up to a scene like that, you start looking around, it's kind of easy or somewhat easy to determine the urgency that you see.
Oh, yes. Yes, Brandon, that's exactly right. I mean, it is a very urgent situation. You have so many different departments kind of moving people out. I also want to say, as we've been saying all morning, it's been pouring rain. So you have people under awnings waiting to go into businesses. You have people looking around wondering what exactly is going on. We actually have some police kind of moving us around right now, so bear with us as we're being told where to park. Since it is, again, a very packed parking lot at this Burger King sort of location. But, again, it is a very active situation here, this high urgency. I mean, there are so many different officers involved in this, and I know that it is going to be a continuous investigation, at least all morning, afternoon. So it is all hands on deck is really what I could echo from what we're seeing right here.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Of course, we'll bring you that news conference as soon as it happens. Now we turn to Steve Noviello. He's got an update for us at Parkland. Steve.
Good morning to you both. We just spoke with the public information officer here at Parkland. They are now referring any inquiries about the medical center to Dallas police, which tells us that either they don't have anything to pass along to us, or perhaps the final victim, who we're told was still in critical condition at last check, has been transported to a different facility. We can tell you originally the thought was that those folks would be brought here, as it's the closest level 1 trauma center to that now active crime scene, which is being investigated. We then were able to confirm that 2 of those detainees that were shot by the sniper have since succumbed to their injuries and have both died. The scene here at Parkland is kind of quiet at the moment. Again, earlier in the day, we were showing you all of the police cars driving by, the very rapid, speed at which people were driving kind of past here on their way to the ICE detention center. Things have really calmed down now. To put that in perspective, what this would normally look like if this was kind of another important location for this investigation, or as the story moves forward, we would generally see police detectives showing up here. We would generally see ambulances pulling in here with lights and sirens. We haven't seen any of that, which again does speak to the fact that unfortunately 2 of those victims weren't able to be helped.
All right, Steve. We appreciate it. I believe we have Sean Rabb on the phone, and we want to check in with Sean. And Sean, we've been talking about the level maybe of urgency with some of the people that are responding. A lot of the law enforcement agents that are responding to the scene, even Steve Noviello was talking about the urgency level there earlier at the hospital. Maybe that has died down a little bit. What do you know about how this investigation is growing, or what phase they're in right now?
Well, I don't have any other updates.
What do you know?
On what you...
Okay, so based on the posture that you can see of law enforcement, fairly certain there's not going to be a second shooter, right? This is going to be one individual who has made this decision to carry this out today. Again, here's what the investigation is going to look like now. Who is he, on one hand? Who is he? What's his history? Where is he from? Or who is she? Whomever that person might be. Where are they from? What could be the motivation behind this act today? Is it something where there's a manifesto that's been left, some notes that's been left, online even, at ICE agents or at detainees? We'll find that out. hopefully, as this investigation continues to unfold. In that building where that shooting took place is the office of the special agent in charge of the Dallas Division of ICE Customs Enforcement. But also it's where the day-to-day agents operate who are out in the field doing that work every day and bringing people in and out of that facility. So we'll learn more about that. We'll also learn how the response came. Dallas Police was the lead on this when the call for assist officer came in, and they began to get a lot of response from other agencies, federal agents as well. So we hear from Dallas Police in a news conference, but also hear from the acting head of ICE locally, Homeland Security, or even FBI as this thing unfolds today. This will be the first update and maybe the only update we have on camera from law enforcement today when they hold this news conference. And it is my expectation they will tell us who this person is. They might identify
who is the shooter.
My expectation, but they might.
Somebody said it's MAGA.
We'll see. But I'm sure by now they know who this person is.
Oh.
Yeah, and Sean, I know that we've been talking about this morning about 3 ICE detainees who were shot. We know that one of them was dead on the scene, and we know that 2 people were dead on the scene, so that may include the shooter. Has that information changed to your knowledge?
Check. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear
no,
me?
I have not heard any other information regarding that, other than no agents were shot.
Check 1, 2, 3.
No agents were wounded at this point. That's all I've heard. But I have not heard any other change in those numbers. Either way, it's tragic if these people in custody, standing there, waiting to be brought in or out of the building, and someone in a sniper's perch shoots at them and does harm and causes fatality.
Yeah,
that is true. That is true.
FBI source was talking to Steve Noviello, confirming 2 victims died, and then the suspect dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Sean, you mentioned that news conference that we're waiting on. We were told it was going to happen, momentarily. They're having to move the location now of the news conference, so it sounds like it's going to be delayed a little bit. So
where is it moving to?
I'm not sure. I guess they couldn't be at the parking lot that they were, so now they're moving it to a different business, a different location. I think everyone's just trying to get on the same page right now and getting everyone at the same location. Now that traffic is moving, hopefully that will make it a little easier for the media and law enforcement to get everywhere that they need to go.
Yeah, I know Shannon has been out there at the scene as well, and we want to check in with Shannon Murray right now. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Brandon, Lauren, so when we last talked to you, we were about a mile.
So they said here some of the last updates. Sorry, I was like making these calls, the appointment, the Comcast, blah, blah, blah. But September 24th at about 6:40 a.m., Dallas police responded to assist officer call at the 8100 block of North Stemmons Freeway. The preliminary investigation determined that a suspect opened fire at a government building from an adjacent building. 2 people were transported to the hospital with gunshot wounds. 1 victim died at the scene. The suspect is deceased. And then they said here the death toll rises to 4. And now we're waiting on the press conference.
Very crowded, a lot of traffic. It's a very small fast food, Burger King parking lot. So not a lot of room for all of the media and law enforcement that needed to get in there. So it makes sense to me that they are moving that location right now. But so we, decided to divide up. Peyton is going to be over there at that news conference, and we'll bring that to you guys as soon as possible. And we're here just around the corner on the other side of the ICE facility, where, again, we are seeing still a heavy police presence. Still some people here on scene, trying to get in. in, being told to turn around. They're not allowed into this area. We're now hearing 3 confirmed dead, as you just mentioned, 2 victims, and also including the shooter with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We are still waiting to learn more about these victims. We are told that they were detainees here at this ICE facility. We are told that the shooter was on a nearby rooftop building. We know there are several buildings here in this area. There's a law office right here, a immigration lawyer office that we're standing in the parking lot of at the moment. There's also a Schlotzsky's nearby. There are several kind of businesses right there along Stemmons Freeway near Regal Row and Empire. In between there, if you're familiar with that area, a lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants right there. And a very heavy police presence. They're still trying to kind of communicate and navigate where they want people staging, where they want the media to go, where they're blocking roads, where they're letting people in, because I think a lot of the congestion here right now is just Lauren and Brandon, people trying to get to work, trying to get to their offices, trying to pass through. This is a highly trafficked area. So a lot of people just trying to figure out alternate routes right now, taking all of the side streets. I know we had to take a very strange route just getting here this morning down Riverfront and around the side street, and it was just, you know, complete standstill traffic all morning long as they continue working this scene. Now, we've seen a lot of SWAT vehicles here as well, from Dallas Police, Dallas County Sheriffs, and then Richardson Police SWAT tactical units as well. Some of those leaving the scene. So it does appear that they are releasing some of those officers here from the scene, because, I mean, just the last time I talked to you, you might remember this entire street here was full of flashing lights and different police vehicles. Now you see just about a handful there, still kind of just securing that area to keep it closed off to people going in and out.
All right, Shannon, we appreciate it. That's good information, and it kind of ties in with what Chip has been talking about. So we want to check in with him now. What are you seeing? And I mean, this is an area where 35E splits off from 183. You've got just wall-to-wall parking lots and businesses all around that area, including a hospital district, and not too far down the road, Love Field.
Right, and so it just makes it all the more paramount to understand the lay of the land currently in this area as far as the closures are concerned, and it's dramatically better now than what it was earlier. But even with that noted, we're still talking about a multi-mile backup on southbound I-35E that basically starts at Northwest Highway and continues down past Regal Road to this point at Empire Central. And then on the northbound side, a significant backup because of the closure that was in place for about 35-40 minutes as one moves up from Inwood initially, and then at the 183 interchange, where they forced all traffic for a while to go onto 183 toward Regal Row and the detoured route around this site. Obviously, things have changed. They've allowed the highway to reopen, and so the overall flow is a little bit better. As I just briefly kind of show you the map in this area and just give you an overview of what the Dallas-Fort Worth area looks like. We've obviously had a lot of wet weather push through, and there are a lot of slow roadways. But right now, as far as the drive is concerned, moving in that area, the backups are definitely significantly less, especially on the northbound side as it continues to improve. On the southbound side, again, more heavy traffic, mostly due to the fact that everyone is taking a gander at the activity that remains along that service road and will for a while longer. Obviously, that initial thought of having the press conference start at 9, there was a little bit of a snag there as far as getting that started at that time. So we're still waiting for that development and to get the latest information, Lauren and Brandon. But right now, I would say the best thing that you could do is to plan for it to take about 30 minutes longer than normal. Let's say you live in the Farmers Ranch and Carrollton area, to head down toward 183, and that way you know you'll make it to your destination on time. I would say the amount of time you need on the northbound side due to the delays would be about 20 to 25 minutes, and probably dissipating at a faster rate at this point. And you'd actually now be better off to stay on the highway and not go to secondary streets. All of the roadways, side streets, are completely overloaded, especially Harry Hines, which was a plan B for a lot of folks to utilize just a little bit to the east of this I-35E interchange.
Well, I was just gonna ask you about that, because we're learning that the news conference that was supposed to be around 9 o'clock or so wasn't necessarily relocated. It's just that our crews had a tough time getting there. We're going to probably provide some sort of live live picture until we confirm that news conference is about to start. But yeah, I mean, with that many side roads congested in that area, you're right. It's better off just to stay on the highway.
Yeah, most certainly. No question about it.
All right. Do we have a live picture from the news conference, Catherine? Catherine, our producer, is pulling up the, there we go. That is where the news conference is going to be taking place. You can see the Dallas police vehicles there. Looks like we got a fire crew there maybe. But they're basically standing by. That's where the news conference will take place. We're being told, I think, that they're gathering just kind of all the officials and who's going to speak. And then we'll be listening in.
Waiting for information. Yeah, I mean, and as Shannon mentioned too, she was noticing that there were law enforcement elements there from the city of Richardson. So now you've kind of gotten into this extra element or extra phase, I suppose, of this response of where you've got local agencies, Richardson, maybe other municipalities as well, offering help, offering their support, their units for traffic control and other things as well. You know, and we mentioned nearby. The hospital district, Steve Noviello's been at Parkland Hospital all morning. Steve, what have you learned?
Good morning. Yeah, sorry, we're just checking in on our messages that are coming in kind of fast and furious here. As really this turns into the investigation phase. Okay, just reading some notes here from one of our contacts. So what we can tell you again, that 2 are confirmed dead here. The 3rd is, of course, the shooter who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We've been discussing this morning the proximity of Parkland to the crime scene as being a likely candidate for these folks to be transported to. We're not seeing a lot of police activity here, which again either tells me that they were taken to UT Southwestern, or perhaps unfortunately they were not able to be saved in a significant way that would then have them come to a hospital for more treatment, because unfortunately they have passed away. Again, we're being told 3 people have been shot. We can confirm 2 of them are deceased, and then on top of that, the shooter as well. We can tell you that Dallas police are taking a lead on this as they really try and figure out what happened here. We really go into the investigation phase at this point. How did this shooter get access to these people? Were they perhaps being transported in some way? Were they being walked into the facility in some way? Did he shoot through a window? All of these things are questions that we're hoping to get answered, hopefully as soon as that press conference.
Yeah, what's the perp's name, the suspect's name? Thomas Jadwin, thanks so much for the super chat this morning. Looks like these places are safer with the gators. Maybe. People getting sniped, shot from a distance from a rooftop. And seems like the violence is going to continue to increase. Seems like it. Still waiting on a press conference. Hopefully they release the name.
Historical context, whenever we cover this type of thing, it's generally difficult to get in touch with the public information officer. She's good at her job, so she's generally available, but she's particularly available this morning. Again, there's no other media here as well. We ran into some of our colleagues from one of the other stations in town. People starting to wonder, okay, are we in the right place? Is anybody in fact being treated? Did anybody survive in a significant enough way that would require, you know, some sort of treatment? But you're exactly right. Generally, what they would be doing is taking time to figure out how many victims, what is their condition, how are they being treated, how were they transported. We're not getting any of that information from Parkland this morning. Again, those questions are being referred to Dallas Police, who will be the lead agency on this investigation. We can also confirm for you that the Dallas branch of the FBI is now involved.
All right, so Steve, just to confirm, we got 3 people who were originally shot. 2 have been are considered fatalities. The shooter is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So we have 1 person who was shot who, for now, has survived. Correct?
Correct. At this point, again, based on the information we were given earlier today, we are still waiting for an updated condition on the 3rd detainee who was shot, whether or not they survived, and if they did, how critical their injuries are.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
We hope to learn that at the news conference. That's where
All
Peyton
right.
is
Let's see what
standing
else.
by. Peyton, I'm assuming there's a lot of
Shooter.
people around you right now. Have they given us a timeline, an update on the time this will take place?
Yeah, Lauren, this is a very active investigation right now. As you can see behind me here, I mean, we have a large police presence. We also have media that is kind of swarming all around this area. We're actually staged at a Burger King parking lot. It's off of I-35E and around Empire Central. The police have been moving us around in a lot of different areas. So again, bear with us as we're kind of figuring out where there will be a press conference here. We're actually waiting on Mayor Eric Johnson's right now. There was a lot of traffic and shutdowns in this area, as Chip's been talking about all morning. So it's kind of taken a little while for everyone to get to this central location. So we are awaiting an update on where they are in the investigation. There are people kind of walking around in front of me as a lot of reporters and photographers are setting up. So please just keep in mind of that as well. But again, a large police presence here. I mean, we have ATF officers, we have Dallas police officers. We have counted at least, maybe 30 police vehicles around this area, just on this side of the parking lot. Dozens of officers, first responders that are going to be, briefing us and giving us some information. We've mentioned that Dallas Police is taking the lead on that. We are hoping to get more information from them shortly. We've all been kind of congregating around this area, just awaiting that update because, of course, a lot of us have questions about the investigation, about the victims, if there is any information about the shooter, along with the condition of those other 2 victims that we know were taken to the hospital. So again, we have a lot of questions. We're awaiting information from police. They have not given us any update just quite yet about this morning situation with the active shooter. Again, all we know so far is 1 was confirmed dead, 2 people wounded, taken to the hospital. We know the shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But again, as what we can see here right now, just very active situation. A lot of police around this area. There's also a lot of dogs that are kind of patrolling the area with ATF officers. So we know that this is just kind of a all hands on deck situation, just with police swarming all around here. So again, we are waiting on Mayor Eric Johnson to kind of give an update to us about what exactly is happening here and where they are in the nature of this investigation, along with hopefully some more information about the suspect and the victims. Back to you.
Yeah, Peyton, thanks. Just an update, a kind of a recap as well. We've got 3 detainees, 3 ICE detainees who were shot this morning by a sniper who had positioned themselves on the rooftop of a nearby building. 2 of those detainees have died. There is 1 detainee who we've not confirmed it, so at this point has survived. The shooter is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And I know we've got crews all over that area. Shannon Murray was able to at least position herself on the street behind that ICE facility. And what are you seeing there?
Yeah, Brandon, we've kind of just been working our way closer and closer to this scene throughout the morning as we've been checking in with you guys. Here behind me, you can see we're catty corner on the backside of that ICE facility there where this shooting took place early this morning. So you can still see 3 to 4 Dallas police vehicles here just stationed outside, kind of blocking that entrance into the facility. We just saw a group of people leaving that building. Not clear what they were doing there at the time, but they have started clearing out this area as far as law enforcement goes. When we first arrived into this area, we saw dozens of vehicles here from multiple agencies, Dallas County Sheriff's Office, along with different ATF officials, along with Dallas Police and Richardson SWAT tactical units here on the scene as well. A lot of those vehicles have been clearing out. So they did have this road open. They were starting to let traffic through, and then they blocked it off again. So it seems they are still trying to keep this area secured. They don't want people coming in and out as the investigation continues. But to give you kind of some perspective of where we are, we know that this shooting happened at the facility, which is right off of Stemmons Freeway near Empire, in between the Empire and Regal Row area. That area, from what we understand, still closed off right now as they were working to clear that area. They're starting to open those roads back up, and we are waiting on that news conference later this morning, which is actually just around the corner from us. I know you just talked to Peyton May, who is standing by. Heard this morning, as we've been kind of repeating, that we know 3 people were shot, and we know that Steve was saying he's at the hospital where they've had multiple fatalities, including the shooter who shot himself and died here on the scene early this morning. So Lauren and Brandon, I'll send it back to you guys. We'll continue to monitor any activity here on the scene, and we'll check back in here in a bit.
Shannon, I'm curious, are any of those buildings blocked off around you, or is it mostly just you know, you saw the law enforcement there earlier and they've now left?
Yeah, so
thank you. Johnson, Washington, thank you for the 10. I'm shocked the suspect isn't a pregnant feminist liberal under the influence of Tylenol. Well, we gotta see, man. It's very weird. It's very weird that the people that were shot were detainees. It says no ICE officers were injured.
My check. 1, 3, 3, 2, 1. Lugar.
Thing was blocked off, traffic at a complete standstill. I do see cars moving now, so that's at least progress for anyone who's trying to navigate this area.
Right. Yeah. Now, I'm trying to remember if it was you, Shannon, or if it was Peyton mentioned that in all of the law enforcement response that they were seeing, police dogs was one of the elements that they saw. I didn't know if that was you or not. Are you still seeing that there, or would that speak to maybe this investigative part, the forensics part of this investigation?
Right, and I have not seen any canine units here. I can ask our photographer David, have you seen any? Yeah, we haven't seen any canine units here on the scene so far this morning. Of course, not to say that they aren't here on the scene or even in closer, because if you went, so you see that police unit right there, and you see some people standing in that area. It appears this family here, these 2 gentlemen here, may be trying to get in or trying to get out of that facility, and it's gated off right there. And I am assuming that there are more police officers maybe on the other side of that gate in closer to where the building is. So, you know, we'll check back in and let you guys know any updated information if we see any more activity. Where we're standing from our vantage point, it appears to just be Dallas police here, kind of just securing this area.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've got the ICE facility there, that facility, and then all around there it seems like there's a lot of offices, mostly immigration attorneys. As I was looking to see what other businesses are around there, you mentioned some of the ones that are right off the highway, like, you know, the FedEx and the restaurants, but and then we've got that apartment building where at first it was reported that that's where the gunman was. Then there were some other reports that it was some other building. So hopefully police will be able to confirm exactly where that suspect was and how they got
at this point. They're just saying an adjacent building, so we don't know exactly what it is. But I can show you where the apartment complex is.
Is that it?
The kind of that gray building there in the distance, right on the other side of the ICE facility. So appears to be, you know, a few stories tall there, right next to it. So that may have been why, you know, people initially reported that that's where the shooter was. We're still waiting again to confirm that. But there are several buildings right around here, so it could have been any of those.
All right, Shannon, we appreciate it. You know, and Shannon just mentioned she's looking and she can see traffic moving there. We've been talking with Chip for the last 2.5 hours since this began. And, you know, I don't know whether that's changed at all or whether the traffic is the problems are lighter as we're progressing on through the morning. What can you tell us?
I can tell you that on the northbound side, we've gotten back to as normal of a situation as you could possibly have given the circumstances coming up from downtown Dallas and the medical district past this point. So as I kind of pull that picture-in-picture box off and just kind of show you the map here real quick, you can see that northbound flow dramatically better. And then once you get up towards the 183 split, it's actually starting to get back to posted speeds. It's the southbound side that we're now actually more concerned about heading through that area. And I'm going to start off and bring a picture up of I-35E around Regal Road, just to kind of give you an idea as to what the southbound folks are having to face moving down from Northwest Highway. So from Northwest Highway, basically down past the Harry Hines Raceway interchange, you have wet roadways and the fact that you have an onlooker back up in this area looking at the activity that is still there just south of the Empire Central interchange. So of all of the areas, it's that southbound side of I-35E that's worth steering clear of. We're talking about average speed still under 10 miles an hour. And when you're talking about 10 miles an hour for 5 miles plus, you get the idea as to what you need to plan for. And even with all that noted, you're still better off if you absolutely have to go through this area to stay on the highway and not go to any alternate routes, because even though we're starting to see some improvements in some areas, for folks specifically on southbound I-35E, this would still be your best bet to just trudge along through the slow traffic, just to make sure you have extra space between you and the vehicles around you. At this point, we're talking delays of about 30 to 35 minutes from that Northwest Highway interchange.
Well, just to remark even just what we're seeing there on that traffic camera, a stark difference from 2.5 hours ago when it started.
No question
about it. The number
about
of law enforcement officers who are on that access road there now, just a handful.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely a different scene. We are still waiting for that news conference, and we'll be checking in with Peyton May in a little bit. You can see they've got the cameras set up. Dallas police taking the lead on this. Still waiting for the who, the what, the when.
Right.
All
Who,
those
where,
questions.
how.
Questions we have this morning.
Steve Noviello has been
and on a Wednesday. How are they going to do this shit on a Wednesday?
Some of the sources out there. We're going to, I don't know, can we check in with him yet? Or are we still waiting for him? Steve, you there? Can you give us any updates you're hearing?
Good morning to you. Yeah, so we do have another update to pass along for you. Again, we've been talking about how this is moving into the investigation stage and trying to figure out how a sniper could, in fact, strike 3 detainees. Did he shoot inside of the building? Were they outside somehow? My source is now telling me the shooter fired into an unmarked van. The van was transporting the detainees. The detainees were struck inside of that van. Again, based on what we know about this situation, that chain of events would certainly seem plausible. Again, this is what we're being told by a source very close to the investigation. We are working to double check and confirm it for you now.
Okay, so you were hearing the shooter fired into an unmarked van, right? I just wanted to confirm.
And was transporting these detainees.
Yeah. Oh.
Right,
unmarked van.
And this is me extrapolating here. I would imagine that's probably pretty standard protocol that when detainees are being transported to an ICE facility, particularly with the temperature of what's going on with ICE and detainees right now in the country, that it would be very normal for them to use an unmarked vehicle to really avoid any extra or unwanted attention. That part certainly doesn't seem to be unusual at all. Of course, the idea that then somebody would take that as an opportunity to target these folks is really kind of at the center of this investigation.
And your source saying anything about the suspect at this time?
We are hearing more information about the suspect. They are running down an identification right now. We are not going to share it with you at the moment, although we've been looped in on that information. Again, particularly when it comes to something like the identification of the shooter in this case, we want to be absolutely certain that we have all of our ducks in a row before we pass along that information to you.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get confirmation from police shortly as well. Right. So thank you for the update, Steve. Really appreciate it.
All right, Peyton May is there live at the location where they are going to have, or we're supposed to have at 9, but it's been delayed, that news conference, and we're waiting word on just a lot of these questions, Peyton, and we're waiting for the answers.
Yes, that's exactly right, Brandon. I mean, we are in the middle of kind of a press gaggle here. We, again, originally thought that this press conference was going to start at 9. We have heard later that Mayor Eric Johnson is en route and will be a part of this press conference. We assume that's why there's a little bit of a delay. I mean, all morning there have been issues getting around this area, of course, as certain areas have been shut down for safety reasons. We are actually at the parking lot of a Burger King off of I-35E, and we are awaiting, you know, kind of what police are hoping to give us more information about the circumstances of this situation. Again, all we know so far is what we've been reiterating all morning of this active shooting situation. Someone on a roof shooting at an ICE facility. Again, 2 confirmed dead, 1 person wounded, taken to the hospital. As Steve had mentioned, we are working towards an identification of that person. Of course, being very careful to mention that. We want full confirmation from police here before we are able to release that. But again, we have a lot of questions about who these victims were, who the shooter was. Police in this area are treating this as a very active scene, I will say. I mean, there are law enforcement officials from several different departments. We, of course, have Dallas Police. We have ATF officers that have kind of been patrolling around the area, too, with dogs. As you can see right now on camera, they're kind of navigating, moving some of the vehicles in this small parking lot. I want to mention, again, there are a lot of businesses in this area. I mean, you could see a FedEx office right by us, again, a Burger King. So there are customers that are trying to get around in this area, too. But we are all staged. I mean, it's at least 20 to 30 different media organizations waiting on this update from police. We have not heard anything else from officers as we've been here, other than we are waiting on the mayor. But we do have Dallas Police, Homeland Security, ATF officers, tons of different departments. I mean, I want to say that there's at least 40 police vehicles that have showed up, law enforcement vehicles that have showed up in this area just within the last, I want to say, 30 minutes. So it is really all hands on deck around here. There are also ambulances over here. So it's really just extremely active scene. I can't stress enough how many moving pieces and parts are going into this right now as we await more information. So
still waiting,
again,
still
we
waiting.
Initially, we're expecting a 9 a.m. We were then expecting a 9:30 a.m. update. We're, of course, trying to keep everyone watching updated as quickly, as efficiently as we can. But again, we are just kind of reiterating a lot of the important information that we were already told. But we're hoping that at some point soon we'll be able to give you another update. Back to you.
Hey, real quick, I know Shannon had mentioned earlier she saw a law enforcement unit from Richardson. When you're looking at all of these law enforcement presence there, you mentioned state, local, and federal. What other cities are you seeing that have now responded to help out?
You know, Brandon, in this area right now, this is more of, it seems to be mostly Dallas Police. We know that they are kind of taking a lead on this. So I think just in the area that we're at, we're a little further away from where Shannon's at, where they are going to be giving updates, and it's kind of the command center of media briefing, for lack of better terms. It is mostly Dallas Police, since they, again, were the first responders in this situation and are taking a lot of the lead on this. So I would say, as of right now, I have not seen cities as much as I've seen multiple levels of law enforcement, as you mentioned, Homeland Security, ATF.
Okay.
I think also important to point out, we have incidents that happen, and, you know, we cover local, and but this now definitely getting national attention. We've had several different people of the Trump administration that have been talking about this incident this morning. So not only will we be carrying this, and, you know, the stations in this area, in this market, in the city, but, you know, nationally as well.
Yeah. On that local level, though, Chip has been watching the traffic this morning and how all that is playing out. What do you know now? Are things at least thinning out at all?
So I would say that, yes, it is thinning out to some degree. And I'm going to actually briefly break away from what we're covering here and do some breaking news coverage here in just a second on what's a new development in Kaufman County, completely unrelated to what we've been discussing here for the last couple hours on I-35 here
Last
on Empire
night's
Central.
SWAT.
But just to reiterate, of all of the area here, southbound on I-35E, the slowest traffic remains in the main lanes because that's closest to the actual incident site where you have all the activity along the service road. And there's a quick look at the multi-mile backup that still extends past the Northwest Highway interchange. So I'm going to break away from this really quick because we need to briefly discuss what's going on in Kaufman County in the last few minutes along FM 740 north of the I-20 interchange. What I'm going to bring up is a picture here, and you can see that there's a closure of northbound FM 740. What we know is that a Care Flight ground ambulance transporting someone to a hospital has been involved in a head-on collision just north of here. Significant concerns in this area for the well-being of all.
The last update with last night's standoff in Texas, San Antonio. They're saying that officers responded to a call around 4 p.m. regarding a shooting in progress. Upon arrival, they discovered a victim with head injuries. The victim, accompanied by two women, had been involved in an altercation with the suspect, who was reportedly in a dating relationship with one of the women. Uh-oh. The confrontation began after the victim intervened in an argument between the suspect and the woman. The suspect allegedly struck the victim multiple times in the head with a 2x4. Following the fight, the parties separated, but the suspect later emerged with a shotgun and fired at the victim. Fortunately, neither the victim nor the child initially reported as injured were struck by gunfire. The suspect, described as a black male in his 20s or 30s, wearing all black, fled the scene. Police established a perimeter and deployed a SWAT team. But the suspect remains at large. That's the last update that I've seen on that. So interesting.
Municipality, another city jail, or from some other place, and we're bringing them in. The van was unmarked, but according to my federal sources, ATF agents assigned to assist ICE, there was an ATF agent driving that van, which could explain the very presence of ATF responding here. Not only that, but of course the whole piece of the investigation into the bullets and the weapon, that's going to fall on the ATF. But this involved at least two federal agencies, according to the guy I'm talking with. He, again, one shooter. He said there was some early initial unsubstantiated reports of two shooters, but the gunfire echoes. Especially around buildings, there's an echo effect that makes people believe. We understood this with 7/7. Folks thought there was more than one shooter. There was not. It's that kind of principle.
Also, coming from up high, I think that too is really hard for a lot of witnesses to figure out. Where's the shooter? Because it's not someone standing right in front of them too.
Don't miss this part. It's 6:40, 6:45. We are days away from time change. It's dark still. Okay, at 6:40 now. Because of where we are, the autumnal equinox, all that, where we are in relation to the sun, it's dark. So it was still dark. So this shooter had the cover of darkness in their favor. They perched there, whether it was against the drivers, the vehicles, the passengers. We don't know that part yet, but that's what my guy is telling me.
And you talked about this earlier, the vantage point of a rooftop, a sniper. We're here. I mean, you know, we saw this in the Trump assassination attempts. We saw that just, like you said, last week, a few days ago with the Charlie Kirk assassination. There's got to be a frustration with law enforcement when this is happening again from a rooftop. You can't go to every rooftop.
Well, you cannot. And
that's weird,
this
man.
This is kind of secure facility here.
Timing, coincidence.
One Justice Way on the other side. This is kind of a very secure facility, but you at 6:30 in the morning, would you anticipate someone shooting at an unmarked van carrying ICE detainees?
No.
There's no publicity about this, which is why let me just say this is important, which is why there has to be, especially in the climate we're in now,
right?
They have to operate with secrecy and not and move people at night, move people under cover of darkness, not broadcast when folk are being moved around. For this very reason, we don't know what people are thinking and doing anymore.
I don't think a lot of people even knew that facility was there. I mean, it is clearly marked, and you can clearly see all the law offices around there. But I think, you know, the majority of people that are driving that road don't even know that's there.
And again, this is where the enforcement resource officers are located. Okay, so they do the boots on the ground work every day across North Texas. That's where they're housed. That's where they take people.
So we're seeing these live shots from Shannon and Peyton and Steve, and we're looking at these traffic cameras. What can you tell us based on, you know, just what the situation is? You've got far less vehicles on that access road than were there this morning.
Take a deep breath. The threat is over. Okay. But the investigation just underway, and because you had people die. You know, these kind of investigations, the length and breadth of them are very expansive, right? Right. It's going to take some hours out there today. They're going to try to analyze and understand all of this. And again, we do know who this person is. We're not at liberty to say that yet. When they tell us who this person is and their background, then we'll be able to understand whether they were skilled shooters, whether it was luck in the dark, whether they were randomly shooting at the vehicle or at the building or at ICE, hoping to strike an agent. We don't know any of that yet, but traffic is flowing again. There were probably 100 squad cars out there earlier.
Easily.
Easily. You even mentioned earlier, and Chief Brown even mentioned this, the expansion of this investigation. So was the shooter working with someone else? Was this shooter part of? Was there another shooter that had planned something else and then didn't, or are there other plans?
You got to figure all that out.
A lot of questions here.
How did this person get to that location? So where's a car? Where's a truck? Where's an SUV? And they're running plates?
It needs to be searched.
Yeah.
You need to make sure there's nothing left behind. Right.
Is it wired for explosion? I mean, all those kind of things. Exactly. So there's a lot that goes into this. And right now, there are many different agencies working, all right, in concert. Dallas Police has the lead because of where it happened.
Right.
That's what's up. Different agencies working right now in concert.
I'm curious, are there social media police now? Like, is there someone who's an expert on social media now?
Gotta be.
Okay, we've got this suspect. Now we bring it over to this particular person. Like, is that something now police specialize in the digging on social media?
Dallas Police have a couple of young people. Okay, I mean, young in their 20s who their whole operation is social media. So they are digging deep to see if there's any postings. Okay. And you know, this could be a person who lived in that world or who did not. You know, based on what we find out about them.
And to your point earlier, you were talking about the on-the-ground investigation. That's probably why we're seeing maybe police dogs. I think it was either Shannon or Peyton had mentioned, and all of the things that Peyton was mentioning, they're seeing some police dogs, so that would be why.
But you have to think about all of them. There have been cases where vehicles have been wired, booby-trapped, right? So houses have been moved. So all of that has to be considered, because now you don't want officers and agents and investigators who are doing that work to stumble on something that takes harm to them.
I'm curious, have you heard about another scene, like where this person might live, or have you heard about another scene right now that police might be at?
So as I mentioned earlier to you, once they know who he is, then they'll know where he's from. And if he's local, there's going to be
right, but you're not hearing right now that there's law enforcement that is already there.
I can tell you that if he's local, they're going to be at that address as quickly as they can.
As quickly as possible. Okay. And this is sad. Chief Brown even talked about just the law enforcement end of this, or even just as a police chief, law enforcement leaders, they have to explain this to the community, and this is tough.
Right. And you know, we can admit it or not, but there is some tension in our society. All of us are stressed with these repeated incidents. And yet, here again, and again, we don't know all the motive, who the targets were, but what we know is that people have lost their lives this morning, people are injured this morning, and We don't know if those people were the targets or the agents carrying them in that white van.
We know a person with a rifle did a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. So we're still waiting for that news conference. Sean, we're going to let you keep working and chatting with your contacts. I know Peyton May is standing by because she's waiting on the news conference. It was supposed to take place at 9 o'clock this morning. They kind of keep delaying it. I know we were waiting for the mayor of Dallas. Have you seen him yet? Has he arrived, Peyton?
No, Lauren, I feel like as time has gone on, there are just even more mounting questions. Reporters are really on standby here, just hoping that we get an update soon. I stepped away from a little bit of, the gaggle of media just to kind of show you what we're looking at. We're, again, on this side of I-35E. We're at a Burger King parking lot. And just to show you the sheer amount of law enforcement, look behind me here. I mean, this is just, blocking off this parking lot of the Burger King. There's at least 4 or 5 law enforcement vehicles, and that is literally just one side of this parking lot. There's multiple different entrances here as police are waiting to give us an update. We are hoping to see the mayor at some point soon. I can't say whether or not that's going to happen any quicker, but I will say that there is just such a large law enforcement presence here. I mean, as I'm standing here, just within a 5-10 foot radius, I see Dallas Marshals, Dallas Police, Homeland Security, ATF. I did mention earlier that you also mentioned I saw ATF dogs kind of sniffing around this area too. It is a very active scene. While we are waiting to get an update here, we are also well aware that this is a very active investigation. I mean, they are giving us updates at some point that are probably changing by a minute-by-minute basis, but I
don't know. Jack Poseidon posted breaking human events. I don't know who that is told Dallas shooter is another young man born in 1996. Anti-ICE motive. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. Taking a long time to start. I guess maybe they're still collecting information. We'll have to see what information comes out. See what's accurate.
are waiting outside. It's pouring rain, so a lot of the law enforcement officers are kind of standing under some of the awnings in this area, just standing around waiting for what's next, that update, as we are as well. Now, again, we're expecting Dallas police to kind of take the lead on this press conference, but there are so many different law enforcement agencies, organizations here that I'm sure that there will be other people chiming in as this investigation is so widespread and has a lot of eyes on it right now. Back to you.
Thank you very much. I want to talk with Hannah Battah, who is here this morning. And I know earlier this morning, members of the Trump administration had issued statements through social media, and you've been kind of tracking some of that. What have you learned?
Well, you guys, I have to say, it's not just at the federal level. I know we've been talking all morning long about how this investigation really spans several different law enforcement agencies at the federal, local. We've even heard county judges speaking out about this. And that investigation is also mirroring what we're hearing from authorities and how they say that this is all being handled. Let me make sure I get my microphone on here. Okay, here, I'll just repeat myself really quickly. What I wanted to say to you guys is we've talked a lot this morning about how this investigation has spanned several different enforcement agencies, including at the federal, local level. We've also heard several lawmakers at those different levels speaking out about this. So we want to get to a few statements that we've been seeing this morning. The first one coming from Senator Ted Cruz. He said, quote, "My team and I are closely monitoring the situation at the ICE detention facility in Dallas. We are praying for the swift recovery of those injured, and we are deeply grateful to those brave first responders who rushed to the scene." We also heard from Senator John Cornyn. I know you guys reported this earlier, but this brings about another point that I wanted to speak with you guys about. He said, horrific. While law enforcement investigates, I am keeping everyone impacted in my prayers. He says he also mentioned that his staff has been in touch with those first responders.
Again, he said thank you to everyone who rushed to the scene. And as you mentioned, Brandon, Vice President J.D. Vance also tweeted the obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. Of course, now we know that the victims involved in this situation are ICE detainees, not law enforcement at this point, to our knowledge.
Yeah.
But of course, this investigation remains ongoing.
ICE detainees.
I bring this about to show you several of the other responses that we've been seeing have mirrored what the Vice President has said. We also saw similar responses saying, hey, this attack on law enforcement in particular needs to stop. That came from Ken Paxton, a similar one from U.S. Congressman Wesley Hunt, as well as Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare. And I think it's important in these times that we remember, you know, this investigation is still in its early moments. It's in its infancy. It's going to take law enforcement days, weeks to comb through the shooter's social media pages to figure out that motive or who were shot. Perhaps it was supposed to be an attack on ICE, and maybe it was a misfire, but there was a very real chance that the shooter was aiming for immigrants. This ICE facility in particular, it handles North Texas, but it also processes detainees from
I think my mic levels are
Oklahoma.
uneven.
We know that from the agency's website. So it's been the site of prayer vigils. We have seen protesters go there holding signs saying, keep families together, asking law enforcement to not separate families, asking for them to give immigrants due process. So this agency, this office in Dallas, as well as several other offices around the country, have been under intense scrutiny. Now, in recent months, in recent years, we know from just reporting that this agency has received thousands of immigrants since President Trump has taken office, usually processing them within about 24 hours. Now we have a new response coming in from Governor Greg Abbott reacting to the shooting here at the Dallas ICE detention facility. He says, quote, Texas fully supports ICE. Both the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas National Guard work closely with ICE. This assassination will not slow our arrest, detention, and deportation of illegal immigrants. We will work with ICE and the Dallas Police Department to get to the bottom of the assassin's motive. We will offer ICE additional support to assist in their operations. And I think that motive is the big question that remains this morning. Unfortunately, that's a motive we're not going to hear from the shooter, him or herself, because we know that the shooter has taken their own life. So it will remain to be seen what other evidence authorities can collect to sort of piece that together in these hours, days, weeks moving forward.
And to clarify, it was not, to our knowledge or from what we were being told, no ICE agents were shot.
Correct.
Right, but there were ATF, Sean Rabb said there was an ATF driver of that unmarked van, and it was an unmarked van, according to his source, that was bringing those detainees to that facility. And it was kind of in like the carport area. So that's why, at least from what we're being told, other than, you know, the bullets and kind of the investigation, why ATF might have a more, you know, higher presence in this, because they said there was an ATF agent that was driving that van. So.
I can imagine as you were pouring through social media looking for these statements, you not only saw those, but also, I mean, social media is usually where people go to express, and in this case, I'm sure, both sadness and anger.
Absolutely. And what's been interesting to see is the dichotomy of this sadness and anger, people, I think, drawing their own conclusions about what happened here. But the bottom line is we have a shooter here who definitely had some knowledge of these vehicles, the facility. This is a busy area right off Stemmons Freeway. There are hotels there. There are several fast food restaurants, like you guys were saying earlier, several possible vantage points for someone to do a sniper shooting. Now we know it could have been a shooting from above, and also making it much more difficult for agents to work nowadays to get through these areas, trying to be as discreet as possible, knowing that this is still, at the end of the day, a very public, a very busy, and a very trafficked area nonetheless.
And we heard former Dallas Police Chief David Brown. He said, like, even a novice could shoot with a rifle at a distance, like if it had a scope on it. So we don't know, you know, who this person is yet, but it could be anyone. It doesn't have to be somebody with training anymore these days.
Right, and it very well might have been somebody who was aiming for one person and hit another. That possibility is still out there at this point.
Yeah, well, and we're hoping to learn some sort of answers to these questions here. in a news conference that is scheduled or was scheduled at 9. We're just kind of waiting for that to transpire.
Yeah, it looks like they're
gathering everybody. All right.
Pushing that back. And I also think, too, when we're dealing with an investigation that involves several different agencies, I mean, this falls in Dallas city lines. However, it is a federal facility involving federal agents. And so I think that coordination here will be kind of on full force, on full display when that news conference takes place.
Yeah, Dallas police taking the lead. I think they were waiting for the mayor at last check. And so we will update you as soon as we have more on that. We're going to check back in with Shannon because she is right at that area where this detention center is, not far from originally where we thought the shooter might have been shooting from, which was the story apartment buildings. But then later we were told it was on top of an office building, an immigration office building that's close by. Shannon?
Yeah, and Lauren, I wanted to respond to that. First of all, I did hear Sean Rabb reporting that, the shooter was on top of a building near this ICE facility, which is just a catty corner from where I'm standing. You see a couple of Dallas police vehicles there blocking that entrance. I tried to walk up closer and get a better view, and you really can't see anything beyond that point. They have it all closed and blocked off right now. There are several law office, immigration law offices here in this immediate area. We're standing in the parking lot of one of them, and I heard Sean say that the shooter, they believe, was standing on the roof of one of those law offices. And my photojournalist, David Tafoya, who I'm working with this morning, said, yeah, but if it was the one where we were standing, it would probably be blocked off right now. We wouldn't be able to just pull in and park here and set up our camera. But we do see down the way a couple of other law offices. So there are quite a few buildings where that shooter may have been standing. And we're trying to determine exactly where that may have been. You also mentioned the mayor coming out here to the scene. And I will say, we don't want to speculate on anything, but we did see several SUVs, unmarked dark SUVs, pulling into the scene here at this ICE detention facility. So seemed to be someone who was coming in to be briefed on the situation. I know that, Hannah mentioned this is such a large coordinated effort. We see ATF here on scene. We see Dallas police. We've seen several agencies here throughout the morning. Dallas Fire just had a fire truck here a few moments ago that just pulled away. And so it is a very large coordinated effort. All of those agencies have to communicate with one another. They have to get together and brief each other and communicate before they can have that press conference. We see this a lot with breaking news. When there's a massive incident or a shooting that happens, they want to all get their ducks in a row. They want to communicate with each other before they're able to relay that information with all of the media. I know Peyton has been standing by waiting for that news conference, which was initially said to be at 9 a.m. Of course, it's been pushed later and later, which is typical in these kinds of evolving situations where everyone wants to make sure they are clear on the facts before they give that over to us. So right now we just see police here securing the scene. They did have this road open at one point. They were letting traffic through, letting people in. They have since closed it again, and it is only police, only authorized vehicles allowed in. We've seen marked and unmarked vehicles pulling into this area and driving through, talking to the officers here as they block that area and block that parking lot to the ICE detention facility here behind us. Lauren and Brandon.
Shannon, thanks. We appreciate the information as we move toward the top of the hour now. We just kind of want to recap and give you the information that we received from Dallas police. Their statement reads, on September 24th at about 6:40 a.m., Dallas police responded to an assist officer call there in the 8100 block of North Stemmons Freeway. We're talking about Empire Central there, around where 35E and 183 kind of split off, saying that the preliminary investigation determined that a suspect opened fire at a government building, the ICE building, we now know. From the adjacent building, a law office, we now know. 2 people were transported to the hospital with gunshot wounds. 1 victim died at the scene. The suspect is deceased. And we know that the suspect is deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Of the 3 the ICE detainees who are the victims there, of the 3 people who were shot, 2 have died. We have not received confirmation on the condition of the 3rd victim, but we know that when they were transported, at least 2 of them were transported early on, they were in critical condition. So that's what we know so far.
So even though we're waiting on this news conference, we have been getting updates from police, like the statement you just read.
So FBI sources told Fox 4 the shooter was on the roof of the law firm building behind the Dallas ICE facility and fired into an unmarked van that was taking detainees to the facility. So, according to Laura Loomer, she's saying the shooter has been named as Joshua Jahn, 29. That's what she's claiming. We're going to try to find out if we can confirm that. Joshua Jahn, let's see. Wonder where she got that from. That's what somebody said on Facebook as well.
Media, there's information of what his motives were or what his politics were.
All right, Gil, thank you so much for your update. Appreciate again, you know, 2 people taken to the hospital originally with gunshot wounds, is what we're told, but we do know 2 of those.
This reporter, I've seen this lady before, Carol Markowitz. She broke some story recently too. She's saying the alleged shooter at the Texas ICE facility is Joshua Jahn. Date of birth 4/30/96. I don't know. That's what she's saying. So we'll wait for some more information.
Top of the hour where we were able to have enough information to then go live on the air with the active shooter call. At this point, you can see that service road is still closed, but in the last few hours, we have seen a lot of changes regarding I-35E in the main lanes, from closures for a half hour or so and multi-mile backups on the southbound side that at one point extended back past Royal Lane, and on the northbound side all the way back through the downtown Dallas Mixmaster. Now the flow on the northbound side of I-35E as one moves up through this area is almost back to what would be considered normal for a rainy day, which is what it's like out and about. And then on the southbound side, yes, it is still heavy, but not nearly as bad. It's only a situation now where the average speeds are about 10 miles an hour from the intersection of the Harry Hines Raceway on-ramp south of the Northwest Highway interchange by about 3/4 of a mile or so to this point at Empire Central. And this is just a quick look around hopefully the Regal Row interchange, just to show you what it looks like approaching this area coming down from that Harry Hines Raceway interchange. Very slow. Everyone intentionally moving at this reduced speed for 2 reasons. As I mentioned, rain definitely a factor, but more the onlooker backup taking a gander at this situation as one continues down through the service road area and all the presence of all the crews there in that service road area just south of the Empire Central interchange. Get it back over to you.
All right, Chip, we appreciate that. I want to check in with Shannon Murray now. Oh, sorry, Steve Noviello. He has been at Parkland Hospital with information there, and you've been hearing from your sources there, and certainly just a lot of folks, the urgency where you are is very low.
Yeah, so there's a low level of urgency here at Parkland Hospital, which has given us the opportunity to kind of work our sources and find out exactly what happened over at the crime scene in terms of how exactly the shooting took place. I reported to you about a half hour ago that I was hearing a preliminary report from my FBI source that this sniper shot into an unmarked van that was holding detainees and transporting them, and that's how they were struck. We've now been able to reconfirm that information. The van transporting detainees, perhaps from another municipality or another location, into this ICE detention center. As they pulled up to the Sally Port with an ATF agent driving that vehicle, that's when the shots were fired. Whether or not that's actually targeted towards specific detainees in that van, whether or not the shooter was just looking to harm anybody that was being transported in that van, that part we don't know, but we can tell you that as a very matter of policy, it's not unusual for detainees to be transported in an unmarked vehicle. That's pretty matter of fact. Again, that allows these vans to travel perhaps more inconspicuously, as they may be the target of some folks who may or may not agree with some of the detention that's happening. But we are able to now confirm for you once again that the shots were fired at an unmarked van that was transporting these detainees. We had been asking earlier in the day how it was possible that this person was able to get access to 3 people at an ICE facility.
Yeah, shooting into a van.
Inside. Was it through a window? Was it through some sort of open space? And as first previously thought, we can now confirm that it was as this van was pulling up to the Sally Port. That also allows us to extrapolate in terms of exactly the planning that is involved here. I mean, listen, in order to understand exactly how the vans approach, where the best vantage point is to then strike or do harm to folks that are inside of or being transported by those vans, that's a bit of homework that has to be done. Again, this person had the added protection of really the cover of night. This is what, about 7 o'clock this morning. It's still a bit dark out at that point. The rooftop, certainly there had to be some sort of access that this person had. We don't know how long he was up there. What we can tell you is that when he was approached by law enforcement, he then turned that weapon on himself and died by suicide.
Thank you for the update, Steve. We appreciate it. And we are hoping to learn as we move along what the police response was as well. I know there's several videos posted online that basically show all these people responding, all these officers, all these different agencies responding, on the highway as they were headed that way. So that's going to be a part of it too, not only looking at what happened, but also the response too.
So we were looking at briefly a shot of the news conference there that is set to begin soon. They're giving a mic check. So that is at least some sort of indication that we're expecting soon to hear from law enforcement leaders. I know Mayor Eric Johnson, Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson, is also expected to speak at this news conference as well.
Joshua Jahn.
And we're just, again, waiting. So we might be able to get some of these questions that you were talking about, Lauren, answered here this morning. And again, you can see that traffic camera shot there. I-35E at Empire Central. Traffic moving along like it normally would at this time of the morning. Much different story than what it was about 3 hours ago or so. Again, there is the shot from the news conference. We are expecting to hear from local, state, and federal authorities. Certainly, Mayor Eric Johnson is going to be there, and he will be speaking as well.
Interesting, they pulled up this big truck. Before, we were in front of a FedEx building, and then there was a Dallas police vehicle, and now it looks like they've pulled this big truck. I don't know if that's just to block any noise or anything that might be going on behind them, oh, we're being told by our producer there's an awning, so hopefully that's going to protect those from the rain that we'll be speaking shortly, because that's something else that they're dealing with right now is the rain that's out there and continuing to fall this morning.
All right, we want to go to Shannon Murray. She has been very close to that ICE facility where all of this began. Shannon, what can you tell us?
Right, so we are just across from the ICE detention facility here, where we're focused on sort of a secondary scene, or what appears to be another scene here. In the distance, our photographer, David, is focused on this brown building. It's a couple stories tall. You see the staircase there. We have seen investigators going up and down these staircases. We see DPD officers there gathered underneath that building there, really focused in on it right now. I know that earlier, Sean Rabb said that his sources were telling him the shooter was on top of an adjacent building believed to be a law office. I looked it up, and this is a law office that is directly behind the ICE facility here off of Stemmons Freeway, just a couple blocks away from the service road. So you can see these police vehicles here, these investigators that looks like they are putting up caution tape right now as we speak, blocking off that area. I mentioned earlier, we're also standing in the parking lot of a different law office. There are several of them right here in the area, so we weren't sure which one they were referring to when they said that the shooter was on the roof of one of those buildings. But it's becoming more clear that this is a secondary scene that they are blocking off and investigating. They are not allowing traffic into this area while they continue this investigation. We have seen ATF agents here on the scene as well here this morning. Right now, only seeing Dallas police, at least from my vantage point at this point in time. I know that Peyton is standing by for that news conference, which should be happening any minute, where we will hopefully confirm more details. I know that many of us kind of working different scenes, different angles this morning, piecing together what may have happened exactly with this shooting early this morning around 6:40 a.m. So Brandon and Lauren, we'll continue keeping an eye on the ground here. We saw several unmarked SUVs pull into the parking lot of the detention facility earlier this morning, that ICE facility there. So it does appear that there are more people here on the scene confirming details before they have that news conference.
I'm curious, Shannon, if we think that maybe this is where the location where the shooter was shooting from. Have you seen any cars that have been blocked off in that area? I think one of the big questions is how did he even or she get there? Have you seen any other, any other evidence that might lead you to believe that that person drove here, that there might be a vehicle, there might be something else that they're searching there?
So there is a parking lot underneath where that staircase is that you can see under that building. We see people walking around in that parking lot, but from where we are not at the best angle because we're kind of down the street. They have it blocked off beyond where we are, and it's difficult for me to tell if they're focused in on any certain vehicle or area, but we have seen them just going up and down the staircase here, focused on the building itself. So hard for me to say if they're focused on anything else there in that parking lot.
All right, Shannon, we appreciate that information. Sean Arab is here again to join us to add to more of this. You mentioned earlier the shooter was on top of a law office building. Is that the building there that Shannon was talking about?
So it appears to be that building. It appears the fire escape or external stairs, whatever you want to call them, is the route of access. We now see caution tape going up around that building. Either Dallas police or federal agents will go up on top and see if there's any evidence there from this scene, as this investigation now is really getting into the teeth of it here, right? And trying to retrace all that may have happened. We know that's happening. I'm not exactly sure when the news conference is going to happen, because I'm checking this text that you heard it just come in.
Information coming in as we're talking here.
But here's what. This happened on federal property.
Right.
So the FBI, Dallas police may have been initially leading this. FBI is going to take over. And we'll hear from Dallas police likely, but we're also going to hear likely from Special Agent Joe Rockroth, who heads up the Dallas division or the northern division of the FBI. But there is coordination on what's going to be said and when now coming from D.C.
Yeah. Well, and one of the other things we don't know yet also, as we were looking at Shannon's live shot in that building and the stairway, we don't know exactly where the shooter took his own life or her own life. We still don't know if it's a his or her, but whether it was the roof or did they come down? Was it in the car? Was it in the parking lot? Was it somewhere else?
We said earlier when he was or she was confronted by police.
Yeah, as he was being confronted or approached. So whether he was still up there, whether he was down, and we don't know. But what we don't see, which tells you, unless his body is on the roof, what we don't see on the ground there a sheet draped. We don't see a van from the medical examiner in that parking lot area. So maybe he was transported. Maybe he was deceased and moved. Maybe he's still there. We don't know the answers to that yet.
Right. We don't see another scene right now, which I think is kind of interesting. We're not seeing, a lot of times we'll see where they will block off a vehicle, as we talked about before, or they'll block off another little area. This right here seems to be now the second spot that they're really focusing on. So first being the detention center, the ICE detention center, and then now this office building. So two different little areas now that police really seem to be focusing on.
I'm going to guess, I'm not exactly sure where it happened, but I'm going to guess it was either on the roof or along the side of that building.
I would imagine that's probably a good guess.
Yeah.
That would be a good guess.
They're saying this is the shooter, supposedly.
We kind of want to point out, you mentioned this investigation expands initially to find out where this shooter lives, who the shooter was talking to, and who they were communicating with. At this point, we don't have any, as Lauren was mentioning, any other scenes, any other places other than this.
We don't.
Okay.
But believe me, they know who he is by now.
Yeah.
And we said he before, because I remember we had a source that had confirmed.
How dare you.
They said it was a white male.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still, if your sources are still confirming that, but earlier there was a source that said it was a white male that was seen shooting.
Yes. So that's what we know. We don't know if they're at any other location. We don't know. Is he from North Texas? Is he from another state?
Right.
We don't know. If he's from North Texas, is there any criminal history?
Right.
Is there anything in his background that might lend a proclivity to this kind of action? We don't know yet, but that's being investigated right now.
And what was there at the scene? Did he have a notebook? Did he have a statement? Did he have,
Right. Okay, there you see they're going up the, I'm going to call it a fire escape or external stairwell. But they are going up, now they're going to look for what's up there. Again, is his body still there? We don't know. That's first. But beyond that, Lauren, as you mentioned, what evidence did he leave there?
Or shell casings, right? Like, I mean, if you're shooting from a rifle, the casings then would be nearby, right?
They're going to expand. Yeah, they're going to come out of that, and they're going to be in that area.
In that area.
Yeah. The weapon itself is going to be there.
Right.
So we'll know, I mean, they have that weapon now. And guess what? ATF is quickly trying to trace that. If the serial number hadn't been destroyed in some way, they're trying to trace it to see when it was purchased or who it came from. If it was purchased, was it recently or some time ago?
And why is it so key to have the weapon? Like, I know, the very first thing that officers, usually are looking for is the weapon. Was it thrown in the woods? Was it wrapped in a towel? Was it, they really always want to get the weapon. Is that just to add another layer to confirm that, yes, that's the person that did it?
You need a ballistics match. You want a ballistics match between the bullets in your victims and that weapon, so we can say without doubt, this is the gun that was fired multiple times, striking multiple people.
And fingerprints too, maybe, right?
Oh, there'll be fingerprints.
Fingerprints, gun ownership,
DNA information, but you also want to match, especially if you don't have your suspect. Now, if the person is dead and the weapon is there, 1 + 1 is 2, and then you can be fairly certain the bullets will match with the ballistics testing being done. But as well, where did the gun come from? So many times in these kind of incidents, it's a recent purchase. Not so in the Charlie Kirk killing. Right? That was the weapon, bolt-action rifle, an older weapon that belonged to the grandfather that had been given to him as a gift. He bought a $2,000 scope to go on it. This might not be that. This might be a weapon that was purchased recently, or it could have been one that he's had for some time. We'll see what they tell us now.
Yeah, hopefully we can learn some more. It looks like they're about to start that news conference that we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and go out to that.
Y'all need a book.
Yeah, I know about 5 minutes ago they did a microphone check there, and so they were kind of getting things ready. They've got some of the folks, it appears as though, will be speaking in this news conference.
We've been given the standby to stand by.
Right. And, again, they originally said this is supposed to start at 9. There's Mayor Eric Johnson and the fire chief. So
city manager.
Looks like we're definitely preparing to hear.
Stay with us, Sean, as we listen to this news conference, okay? Don't go far.
Mayor, so Joe. You gonna speak next? Joe, you speaking after Joe, right? Josh is speaking after. No worries. Let's see you again.
very strongly in the power of prayer, and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for the families of the folks who lost their lives today. Pray for the speedy recovery for those who are hurt and were injured in what happened today. But maybe even more to the point, we're a country and a city that needs prayer. So I'm going to ask you all to join me also in praying for this city, that we can come together at a time like this, and that we can be there for one another the way we always have in times like this, to support one another, help us all get through this very difficult time, not just in our city, but in our country. And that's why I'd ask you to pray for our nation. There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children, and I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things, and it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change the city. So please pray for everyone who is affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the city of Dallas, I want to say thank you to all of you. And you're going to hear from some of those folks later, but I wanted to let you know that we appreciate what you all do, not just today, but every day, to help keep us all safe. And lastly, and this is really important, I would ask all of the city of Dallas residents who can hear me right now, let's be patient, let's remain calm, and let's let our law enforcement partners, our police department, do their job. This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I want to encourage all of you to exercise a little bit of restraint and allow them to do their job to help make sure this continues to be a safe city, and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself. And with that, Chief Como, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a city officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI Field Office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
I think audio's
Good morning.
Everything's
My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much.
All that just
as it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Thank you.
Cruz.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families,
Gavin Newsom.
stop.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
Oh, Lord.
We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that immigrant detainees were the victims of today's shooting?
My understanding is the details of who the victims are still being ascertained, so I don't want to go ahead of law enforcement releasing these details. What they have said is that no law enforcement was injured, and so that's a natural inference, but I don't know the details.
Special Agent, can you talk a little bit about some of the evidence you mentioned earlier? Just for clarity, I think there could be a lot of questions. Our understanding is that some of the shell casings had specific writing that was relevant to the voting. Give us more information.
So I'm not going to go into any more details at this time. We will come back to you when we have more details to share. Again, our goal here will be transparency as those details become available, but we are still in the early stages of an investigation. Information is still coming in. When we have more details, we will come back to this group. I'm not going to be identifying victims at this time. The only thing I will confirm at this time is no law enforcement was injured. Certainly you can respect law enforcement's need to make notifications. At this point in time, we're not going to take any additional questions from law enforcement. Again, I'd ask for you to respect the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, and as more details come available.
We're not asking for the names of the victims.
I understand.
General sense if the victims are the detainees.
The only thing I can say right now is no law enforcement was injured this morning as part of the attack. I won't be taking any more questions, neither will law enforcement this time. We'll come back to you later today or in the coming days when we have additional information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now, something I noticed, let me tell you something I noticed. These people here were not happy with Ted. The chief, all this, I don't think they like him. And they didn't even introduce him. They didn't say he was going to be speaking or anything. And watch at the end when they're done talking. Hold on. Watch this right here.
So much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you.
Senator Cruz. Thank you. We're done. And then it walk off.
This needs to stop.
Maybe I'm just reading into it. Yeah.
Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong.
It was isn't that kind of rude?
2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of the.
So far, what we've been getting, and I'm going to have to downscale the internet for later until they fix the BS, but they're saying the bullets found had the bullets, the rounds, not, I don't know, the bullets, the rounds next to the shooter were anti-ice in nature. Okay, so that already tells you. It seems like where they're leaning. The other thing with this shooting, so yeah, they're saying supposedly detainees were shot, but this idiot, it's too bad this person offed themselves and killed themselves. I mean, these people make no sense. This idiot shoots into an unmarked vehicle. Maybe the targets were cops. And he shot in there and killed, allegedly, possibly, some detainees instead. All for the cause. What the? How does that make any sense? What?
They want to nail that.
These people have lost their minds, if you couldn't tell already. They're so far gone. You know how they say the snake eventually starts to eat itself? So I don't know. We'll wait and see what more information comes out. But it's to me, it seems like these shooters are getting inspired to, okay, I'm gonna write a little message on the casing and then leave my message behind, you know. And this guy did it from the roof. Probably took a little bit of planning, I'm sure. And then the guy offs himself. Wow. Incredible. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to get off for now. I'm going to down tune the internet so it doesn't kick people on the next live stream, hopefully. And I got to fix the audio too. Well, I don't know. Should I stay?
Walk that back.
Yeah, because those two people began to get threats themselves. Yeah. And so they want to be as sure as they can. They will be certain when we hear this person's name. They will have already buttoned up a lot of it before that's released.
What did you think about the comments from Ted Cruz? I mean, he was very passionate. This needs to stop. Politically motivated violence needs to stop.
Oh, I think we all agree with that, but I think the rhetoric has to stop on both sides.
Both sides, yeah.
And that is a message that can't be missed. Yeah. Because both sides are saying there's kind of vitriol at the other.
Yeah.
And that has to stop. And if we can tone back how we talk to one another, maybe some of these kinds of accidents, these incidents, let me say, don't happen. But I think that's a message that speaks to both a left lane and a right lane of the political highway.
That is correct. And there's so much vitriol on the extreme sides of both sides.
Yes.
And it used to be, I mean, in years past, the middle seems to be very unpopulated at this point. So, I guess the hope is that the middle strengthens and grows. And we kind of abandon these the hate on both sides.
And not to get way off track, but there was a time where you could have Democrat or Republican beliefs and ideologies, disagree, agree, come together, work on things, compromise, and move forward. But now it's if you're on the left, you're wrong, or if you're on the right, you're wrong. Right. And that leads to these kinds of incidents in the minds of some people to carry out violence.
All right, so I'm going to fine tune, make a little adjustments, and hopefully fix the mic. And then if we come back later, which maybe I'm sure there'll be something else later, some type of update or some other story, we'll come back. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this morning. Unexpected craziness live stream this morning. Another attack. Who knows if these attacks are going to start increasing. All right. But take care, guys. Love you. Bye. Boop, boop, boop. Bloop. Bloop. Bloop.